Welcome everybody to the Royal Lions UK podcast. We are just getting set up here, but as you can see, it is a bumper cast tonight, so we're going to have some really good stuff. I'm Matthew Turner alongside Anthony Fitzpatrick and Ashley Soden, and we've got guests Kurt Steele and Luke G as well. Gentlemen, I'm so pleased that you're all here. We're going to get started on the pod in a minute, but we're just going to chat amongst ourselves for a while. Guys in the chat, if you have questions for us all the way through at the channel, and I'll see it. And just at the top of the show, because it's the second time this person has done this, I just want to give a big shout out to Kerry L from somewhere in Michigan. Not quite sure where, but Kerry L, the second time in a week that you have tipped $50. Thank you very much. That's hi, Matt and Ash. I just want to thank you guys for the great play-by-play each week, while often sacrificing your sleep. Here's a tip to show my appreciation. I hope you can get yourself a pint or two. Many thanks, Kerry from Michigan. Amazing. Thank you, Kerry.
I like how Kerry thinks. That a pint, they didn't say get a fifth. They get a pint. He wants you to
Oh no,
enough.
pint's beer over there, not liquor.
Oh,
different pint, brother. Different pint.
Okay, all right, okay.
A pint is beer over there.
Now I get it. It makes more sense.
I took a pint of liquor. Pint of liquor would be great.
Same. Pint of Jacob. That's right on my street.
Kurt knows. We'll make a British man of you yet, Kurt.
Yeah. Well,
No.
I've been overseas a few times, so you know.
You've been over here, haven't you?
I've been through there before. Yeah.
Have to get you to come over when the Lions come over eventually.
Eventually, yeah.
Mm.
Man, busy couple of days here with the Lions.
Yeah, tell me about it. We're going to get into all of that and all of the coaches coming and going, and it looks like the OC's going to get announced soon. And oh, guys, it's all crazy.
Not a fan of that. Not a fan of that move.
No, no.
Nah.
Nah. We can talk about
Wait,
it.
who the OC? Wait, I didn't even see who the OC was.
It's not
John Morton.
That's who was rumored to be John Morton.
John Morton.
Yeah, he's been the passing game coordinator out in Denver for the last 2 years. He was on the Lions staff a couple of years ago, and I guess now they're bringing him back. Not a big fan of that move.
John Morton.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was my reaction too.
Yeah. The hell is this dude?
I'm like, John Morton. Who? What? Listen, I'm not gonna lie. I've seen Stranger Things. You know, with Ben Johnson being named offensive coordinator, he shocked a lot of people. So who knows?
A guy I would have went with is already on the staff. I'm like, why aren't we just promoting Scotty Montgomery to OC?
I was wondering if you were going to say Scotty or Tanner.
Yeah,
it should have been one of the two, right?
I wasn't feeling. I wasn't feeling that. Even when they interviewed him, I'm like, who? I mean, like, and because of course us older Lions fans are confused with that name because we had a great wide receiver named Johnny Morton, and people were thinking it was that guy. And I was like, nah, that's not that guy. That's somebody else. I was like, who the hell is this dude?
It was Johnny Morton with Brett Perryman, right? They were the duo.
Yeah. We're Brett Perryman.
But you know what? I'll take any person. This just me being honest. I'll take any person who do three of the following things: 2 back sets. I want to see more of that. I want to see more of riding the high hand because this even split stuff got to stop.
Yeah.
And the third most important thing I want to see him do is have that same level of creativity that Ben Johnson had, but I want him to be more consistent in how he's attacking areas of the field. I felt like we just call plays to try to misdirect and get you where we can get you. I want you to be intentional. If I'm gonna attack you downfield, I'm gonna attack you downfield.
This is
that's what I want.
You disappointed me there, Luke. I thought you were about to say number 3, run the damn ball.
Listen, everybody knows that.
What I see in your Discord.
Everybody knows that. In my opinion, this is how you win championships. And if people who fight against it, I just sit back and watch all these teams who are going to Super Bowl did what? They ran the damn ball. You can pass your heart away in the regular season, but in the playoffs, you better have a rushing attack, or you're gonna be in trouble.
It's just true.
That's how you get to the Super Bowl. That's how you win it.
Well, and even if it's not, sorry, Kat.
Yeah, go ahead, Matt.
No, I was just like, even in the championship game yesterday with KC and Buffalo, even if it wasn't run game, it was extensions of the run game with getting Worthy the ball in space and stuff like that, which is basically run game anyway.
Yes.
Or, I mean, the Bills were at the best when they were like, let's just run James Cook.
Mm-hmm.
When he got downhill, he's an absolute weapon. So, yeah. I mean, don't go away from the stuff which is working really well just to change it up. Like, we should have run the ball because it was working. And we were like, oh, we'll throw it now. And it's like, well, why?
There's
like,
a bit of game script stuff in there.
I know, but the game script adapt. If you're
what I'm saying with game scripts, so what I'm saying with game scripts, because Jeremy quite rightly tweeted out as well, I'm going, up into in that second half, we had like 5 possessions, and to start the second one, it was start the fourth quarter, and we were already in a hole, so we kind of had to go away from the run. Like, I agree, we should have ran it a bit more, but the game scripts at that point, the game state was we needed to pass the ball because we were in a hole.
But we were running at 10 yards a carry, though. It's not like it was slow. It would have been faster than the passing that we were doing.
And we were in a hole for not running it. People forget, Jahmyr Gibbs had 96 yards on 9 carries at halftime. He finished the game with 14 carries. That means he got the ball 5 more times, and that's absurd. And there were so many things wrong with that game, from starting David Montgomery, who clearly was still hurt.
I was like, what? You should have never started him.
Like, it should have never started him. To the fact of them just basically saying, you know what, it's 3rd and 1, 5 wide. Like, who does that? Like, why? Why are we doing this? Now, if you got a mobile quarterback and you go 5 wide, cool. You don't have a mobile quarterback. If you're going to call a foul, do a quarterback draw or something. But you don't have that. So it's a lot of things that went wrong in that game. And even looking at the playoff games after our game, the Bills were getting stopped a lot on runs. They kept running it. The Eagles were getting stopped on runs. They kept running it. Like, the formula doesn't make sense to a lot of people, but that's the reality of it. Running the ball is how you win championships and how you win playoff games. And I've noticed this trend since going back to the 80s. So, dang, that sounds bad saying it out loud like that, but you get my point.
Like, what did the Eagles have, like 36 runs yesterday for the Eagles?
If you take 36 runs, take out the 10 runs, actually take out the 10 runs from Jalen Hurts that were designed, and take out the 1 run or the 1 kneel down from Kenny, and the rest were all Saquon Barkley and Shipley.
Yeah. So my point, I completely agree. My point is just that to start that second drive for us in the second half, the one where JMO threw the interception on the 3rd of 1st and 10, they kicked the ball to us to start that drive with 29 minutes left in the fourth quarter. So we had 1 quarter basically to try and make up a 10-point differential and still win the game, which is why. And even then, we started that drive with a run with Monty for 5 yards. It's just by that point where we finally got out for our 3rd one, which we got the field goal on. We had 7.5 minutes left in the fourth quarter to try and make up. At that point, it was, let me just count in my head, 17 points. So we just couldn't run the ball because it would drain too much clock. We were fighting the clock at that point. I agree we should have kept running Gibbs if we had the chance, but we just didn't because we needed to, at that point, score 18 points in 7.5 minutes without letting them score another one. So we had to throw downfield.
We should have been running Gibbs the whole game.
But that's what I'm saying. Yeah. See, look, like you went to a point. Yeah, like Ash went to a point in the game where it's like, okay, we know that happened in the game, but they were in the hole because they went away from the workhorse that was known as Jahmyr Gibbs. Half the plays that he got, I swear, I'm still trying to figure out. I've watched him many times. I don't know how in the hell he gets those yards. He was that dominant. And every time he came in the game, the defense buttholes like puckered up, like, oh God, he's back. And when he was out of the game, they was like, okay, let's get the quarterback. Like, it was that type of game.
They were more aggressive when Gibbs went out of the game on defense. I agree with that wholeheartedly.
100%, yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
So, it's just been able to say, you know what, do something different. And again, looking back to last year, you know what I'm saying? Like last year, granted, we went as far as we could given some of the circumstances, but last year we should have been in the Super Bowl. This year we should have been in the NFC Championship game at least, given what the injuries were. And next year, I'm sorry, but the standard still stands. It's Super Bowl or bust. You got to get there.
I think this year, like I said in our video with the thing, I think the injury bill just came due. I mean, I just think that you only could put so much on it. Like, like it's like paying a past due bill, and it is a snowball because you couldn't pay the whole bill 4 times in a row. You only could put half on it or whatever, and then now the bill is just like a exorbitant amount of money that you owe, and you just got to pay it. And that, I mean, and then losing those 3 guys in the secondary during that game did not help either. I mean, of course you had Meat go down early, but it was just you get Iffy gone and then you get Branch. I'm like, man, what else can happen in this damn game? I'm like,
it was just rough. I mean, the thing is, we'll get into this, but DVOA, we're 2nd overall, 3rd in offense, 5th in defense, 1st in special teams. It's the 7th time that a team has been top 5 in all 3 since 1978. Like, we were the 5th overall defense, and we were absolutely shockingly bad on defense for 5 of the last 6 games because we were a top 3 defense for most of the season. So, like, clearly the investment really worked until it fell off because of injuries.
Did it though?
Yeah, we were
actually it did. It actually did.
I'm gonna tell you why. I'm gonna tell you why I argue if it did or if it didn't. I argue if it did or if it didn't because of Ant's favorite guy, Aaron Glenn. That guy can squeeze blood out of a rock. You hear me? Aaron Glenn, everybody talks about how great Ben Johnson is. Aaron Glenn took poop and made a pumpkin carriage and a princess out of it. Like, I don't know how he got what he got out of them. And it's impressive to see it. And the reality of it is he never wavered or made excuses for what he didn't have. He just kept adjusting. And that's cool, right? With Shepard, I expect much of the same, but I expect us to have a little bit more, to be a little bit more blitz heavy, which that scares me a bit. But Aaron Glenn made it work. I felt like a lot of the things that we did from Zadarius Smith, a pick that I wasn't really high on, I'm like, he ain't finna change nothing. Broderick Martin, I will forever go down in the history of trying to figure out why we take these obscure players from him to the tight end that we took that 1 year. People, that's a late round pick. I don't want to hear about late round picks, and you want to tell me about Enrod. Now we got Manu, and I'm trying to figure out like when we gonna stop with this project stuff. Go get players. Go get me these players that you can. I get you want to groom them. Go draft them in the 6th and 7th round. Right, but go get me players. And so I feel like losing Aaron Glenn is going to be a huge loss. It's going to be a bigger loss than losing Ben Johnson, in my opinion. Because
I might be speaking for everyone. I think all feel that way, at least on this show.
I think so too. I believe that 100%. Yeah.
Just on the defense, though, all the way through the Chicago Bears game, week 13, so game 12. We conceded 17 points a game, average. 17. Like, that's a defense which is working. I don't know why my phone is talking to me. Apologies for that, if you could hear that on the speaker. But hey, anyway.
No, you're good.
I am going to hit the record button on the audio pod and then just introduce us again. And we'll get all this good stuff on here. So I'm going to go through news, which is player re-signings, and then coaching, losses, retentions, replacements, awards, Lions season, and then award nominations. That's a lot. So if you guys, it's too long, you just want to drop off, Luke, if you've got to pick up the kids, come back, whatever, then just have at it. It's all good.
Okay.
Is that all good?
That's good for me.
Let's do it.
Right. Okay.
Recording in progress.
Welcome to another edition of the Royal Lions UK podcast, episode 325, A Year in Review. My name's Matthew Turner, alongside Anthony Fitzpatrick and Ashley Soden. How you doing, boys?
Doing a bit better than I was last week.
I'm happy. Good. I've got my man Luke in the building. I'm looking forward to arguing for the next few hours. So you got me there. I got a lot to get out of my system.
So we do have guests that you can hear in the building, as Ant says, Luke G from Luke G's Field Review, and we've got Kurt Steele from many different places, including Boss Up, Ball Out podcast, also a contributor for Sideline Report and Lions Nation Unite as well. Kurt, Luke, welcome. Welcome back.
What up, dude?
What up, though? Listen, I'm so ready to upset the masses. I'm about to tell some hard truths here that people not ready for.
I'm just here. What's that?
I just said so I don't get fined.
Yeah, I got my popcorn, but I'm here to contribute. But anytime Luke G's in the building, it's gonna be a show.
Oh, I appreciate you.
I try not to be controversial. I try not to be.
Man, okay, that's like water not trying to be wet. Anyway,
I mean, it's possible.
Oh, guys, please do come and join our Discord channel. Links in the live chat right now. We'd love to see you there. Our content is going to go from strength to strength through the off-season. You guys know how much draft prep we do, and if you haven't been following the pod for the last few years, you know how much work Ant and Ryan do for the college show. So when it comes to draft prospects, they are the men to follow, and so get in the Discord. You'll get it first. College Football Podcast, Ant, is coming up later on this week. What are you talking about?
It's breaking down the Senior Bowl roster this week. We've done the Hula Bowl, we've done the Shrine Bowl, so now it's the turn of the big one, the big daddies this week, the Senior Bowl.
That's coming up. I will not be here Wednesday evening, Ant, so I don't know if that's when you were planning to stream. You might have to record, otherwise, unless you can move it. But anyway, that one will be coming up later this week. Please don't forget to like this episode, sub to the show. You guys know what to do. Lions Nation Unite, Herman Moore's project to bring the best in Lions content creators together. Please go and sub to the YouTube channel and go to the Facebook group and all that good stuff for them. And we're Twitch affiliated, YouTube monetized. There's a tip jar down below. So if, like Kerry L, who tipped us $50 a couple of days ago, if you're enjoying what you're listening to, then please do support the show. That would be fantastic. Right. Gentlemen, we've had some players either sign futures deals or re-sign with the team. So re-signings, Gardner Tane Moody, who had a great camp, looked like he was taking some first team and some second team reps and was actually ascending up the depth chart before going down with a season-ending shoulder injury. He's signed to the active roster from injured reserve, so he's coming back next season. And Maurice Norris, the DB, he has re-signed too. He was not eligible for a futures deal because he ended the season on the main roster, so we've brought him back. And then signed to futures deals, quarterback Jake Fromm, wide receiver Tom Kennedy, and then from San Francisco, the former Michigan man, wide receiver Ronnie Bell as well. Tackle Jamarco Jones, center Kingsley Aguakun, defensive tackle Chris Smith, edge Isaac Ukwu, linebacker Abraham Beauplan, and DBs Darren Gilbert, Eric Hallett, Lauren Strickland, and Stanley Thomas Oliver. A lot of people coming back, gents, and obviously futures deals are what they are, but there's a few people who took some snaps this year, and in Moody and Norris, some bigger contributors this season. Kurt, any takes on these guys coming back?
I guess the name Ukwu and Lauren Strickland, the guy that kind of stand out to me. Those guys were some good names. I like Strickland, good depth piece. I think Ukwu can be developed into a decent depth pass rusher. I think the rest of them are kind of camp bodies. You're gonna make sure you fill the roster out before the spring, so you're gonna get to those 90-man players. But Norris was, he was solid, but he's got some work to do, into development. So I would expect him to kind of be more of a special teamer when once the roster is fully healthy. But some interesting names, but I don't think nothing's like bowling me over. Like, oh, I'm glad we got this guy back. It's like it's like nothing's like, woo, like, ooh, we gotta have this guy. It's just not. I'm just not really that excited about future deals or anything like that. But re-signings, but when the free agency period starts and we look at some of the unrestricted guys, maybe we'll look at some of those bigger names that's on there with I think that we need to re-sign. But those guys, man, good luck, man. You know what I'm saying? We see you at Allen Park in the spring. No. I mean, I'm not trying to be a party pooper, but I'm just not like, oh okay.
Luke, I mean, I know you wanted some defensive signings, and maybe this isn't quite it yet, but Chris Smith took a fair few snaps down the stretch and didn't look totally out of place, but maybe these are just some low-key guys?
Oh, they real low key. They so low key that we can toss it out and throw it away. It don't make no difference. I mean, outside of Isaac, everybody else we don't care about. I'm not trying to be funny. Isaac's probably the only one who got a chance to make the 53-man roster. The rest of these guys, I don't see them having a chance in hell. And I do question at times, why do we feel a need to sign these people to future contracts? Like, if these people hit the market, what are odds of them like getting signed to somebody else? If those chances are high, good, go get somebody else. Like Kennedy's been here for so long, and he's just been here. Like, that's it. He's just here.
I mean, Kennedy's got more passing touchdowns than Jameson Williams, though.
Yeah. Listen, and you know this is a family show, so I'm gonna leave it alone. Look, all I'm gonna say is at the end of the day,
please swear if you want to swear. Please swear.
The only person we should be worried about is Isaac. Everybody else can kick rocks, and I'm not trying to be funny or disrespectful of them or dismiss them, but let's be honest. None of those people are unseating anybody. Nobody's getting unseated with those types of moves. So, wake me up when you start giving me names that I can go, oh yeah, they can really help us win. Right now, out of that whole list, only one I heard that can help us win is Isaac.
I mean, they're camp bodies. I mean, this is what they are.
Half of them not even gonna make it to camp. I promise you that. They're not even gonna, because he does this every year. He goes out, he gives these future deals out, and by the time camp comes, half of them is already off the team for other free agents that went undrafted, that went off of other people's teams. So that's why I don't understand what's the need to scramble.
I mean, but every team does it though. I mean, Brad Holmes is like, this is just what he does. I mean, everyone has to have felt that their initial 90-man roster for spring. Now it's fluid because of course, the guys, the 53, what is that? 80% of the 53 is already identified. You know what I'm saying? So you got to fill that back part of that roster. So, I mean, Luke, I get what you're saying because I'm feeling the same way. Like, ain't nothing really. I mean,
like who cares? Like seriously, like outside of Isaac, do you really care if Strickland on this team or not? No. You care if Ronnie Bell's on the team or not? No. Smith? No. I don't even care if Broderick Martin on the team or not. There are players that you can move on from and upgrade from, and that's why I'm saying we got a draft coming up. We got free agency. We got draft. You're gonna have free agency after the draft. Go and get those guys, and let's see what we can do. But no, I don't like this. This if there's ever a year that I'm putting our general manager under the microscope, this is it. This draft is literally set up for you to completely fix the biggest weakness of this team. And it's right there in your face. Just do it. You only need like 1 or 2 free agents. 1 or 2 free agents. And the rest you can draft and have your team ready to rock and roll. And I can't believe I'm going to say this because I wanted to upgrade from Malcolm Rodriguez, and we did. I want another upgrade from Campbell as well. So wake me up when we start really signing people.
Whoa. Wait a minute. You want to upgrade from who?
Jack Campbell. Let's upgrade from Jack Campbell. We need listen, I'm tired of watching everybody else linebacker at least get to the spot. He always seemed a day late and $1 short to get to the spot on a lot of these plays. And when he do make a play, we excited because he's always late. Like, oh guys, you know how like you ever like go to like a kid's like sporting event or something, and it's that one kid, and everybody knows that one kid not athletic, but the moment they do something that's real athletic, you get so excited for him because you know that's the greatest moment of their lives. That's how I feel about Jack Campbell. It looks like he's fighting for his life to get to a spot. It looks like he's struggling. And when you in coverage, don't even get me started in coverage. That's why I made a whole video like he's not worth a first-round pick. I don't see first-round talent linebacker. Like, you should wait on this guy. We took him, and I'm like, oh, here we go. Yeah, so yeah, I want to upgrade from Jack Campbell. And there's some people in this draft that I think can definitely upgrade from it. And there's some people that's going to be in free agency that we can upgrade from Jack Campbell. Now, if you want to keep Jack Campbell on the roster for whatever reasons or whatever, great. God bless you, right? But to us people who want to get to the championship and win it, Jack Campbell to me looks more like a liability at times than he do like a first-round pick.
I think there was only 4 linebackers better than Jack Campbell this year in the NFL. So you're talking to me like there's a very small pool of people that can upgrade him for me. Okay.
Name those 4.
Zach Bourne, Fred Warner, Bobby Wagner, and I think Edgar and Cooper was incredible this year. That's it.
So you don't think Roquan Smith was better than him?
No. I think Roquan Smith on a terrible Ravens defense for the first 11 weeks of the season did not have a better year than Jack Campbell. No. That Ravens defense for the first 10 or 11 weeks couldn't defend a thing.
Okay.
Yeah, they had to make some adjustments to that pass.
And after the adjustments, they were fantastic. But like,
so Matt, when we get off of this, I want you to hook me up with your supplier because I need it. I need it bad. I'm trying to figure out now because sometimes you got to go to a different world, and Matt clearly been to a different world. So I want to go to the world that he's at because in my world the sky is blue. Matt world it may be green or purple, whatever he took. When this thing over, you hook me up with your supply. Don't you be stingy neither. Okay? Don't be stingy. I need what you got. I need some of that.
Now, I will say this, Luke.
I'm just happy to be here.
Jack Campbell has his struggles in coverage at times. I can't lie to you on that. That is a true statement. But Jack Campbell, you saying he's just I don't know if you can have 131 tackles just being late all the time. I don't know if you can do that. I don't know.
You absolutely can. What are you talking?
I don't see what you're seeing. Now, I'm not saying that it's not you didn't see what you saw. I'm saying I didn't see what you saw.
Okay,
that's all I'm saying. Like
I see what's going on. And
when we get off of here, it's not gang up on Luke G Day.
No. I'll take it personal. But look, when we get off of here, I'm gonna need you to connect my man Kurt with the eyeglass doctor again because he needs new prescriptions. All right, I know what's going on. I know what's happening.
No, man, I'm good on my script,
right.
dog. I just didn't see it. Like as far as the linebacker play, he was our most consistent linebacker all year because he was the most available all year too.
He wasn't even our best linebacker all year. Even while being the most available, he wasn't even our best linebacker. It was hands down Alex Anzalone. It's not even close.
Now I will say Alex Anzalone is our best linebacker. He's the captain. He's supposed to be the best linebacker. I said Jack Campbell was our most consistent linebacker.
He was consistent, all right.
But when
he go consistently late, right?
Yep, consistently late.
I think what hurts Anzalone this season is that when he came back from injury, he was rusty. Like even the first game where he made a difference, he still didn't have an amazing game. It's just he was better than putting out any of the. Well, I wasn't going to say him. Who was the former San Francisco 49er that we had? The countryman linebacker. Oh, God, what's his name?
David Long?
David Long was one of the ones I was thinking of, but he's not the one I was thinking of.
Quan Alexander?
Quan, yeah.
Quan, yeah.
So, I don't know why I think of Quan as being a 49er, because he was there for a while, wasn't he? But he's been in the
He's a Saint. I think it was, Booker or Saint, yeah.
All right.
He was the Bucks for the longest, but go ahead.
Anyway, Ash and future signings, maybe you have a bit of a different opinion on these guys, on Moody coming back, on Norris.
Yeah.
Ash, I have a feeling for some reason that you might like these guys just a little bit more.
Yeah, one in particular, and it's the one you've currently got your cursor on. It's the one you just mentioned, Moody, who, for me, that is a sort of big sign in inverted commas because at the very least, he is very, very good guard depth, which, we kind of need with the uncertainty around that position. Heading into the off-season with obviously Glasgow having a real down year, the uncertainty about will Zeitler come back, will he retire, will he even want to sign with the team again, or will he want to go somewhere else? The sort of uncertainty around Mahogany as well, like personally, I'm very high on Christian Mahogany. I think I'm got him penciled in as our starter when I start in guards next season. Moody, who's been there, done that, and Mauler in the run game especially, he was top 10, I think he still is, top 10 in terms of bench press at the Combine, which shows the kind of strength he has. And with Hank still being here, as we'll get onto in a bit, him being there at the very least, that's your sort of got like OG3, OG4 going into next season, but he does have that potential to start. He did it with the Raiders for a couple of years, admittedly. I think for the first 2 years of him started, he had Rodney Hudson next to him, who is a damn good centre. Oh, wait, we've still got Frank here, who is one of, if not the best centres in the league, even when he's playing with 8 toes. So for me, him sticking around, especially as you said in the breakdown, that he took some first team reps at guard, I think it was right guard, especially before he had that shoulder injury in preseason. Bringing him back, that's the kind of thing I'm looking for, because we need those kind of bodies. Because as it's been said time and time again about this team, especially offense, the offensive line is the engine of that. So we need to keep making sure that we've got the reliable guys there. Same with Jamarco Jones. I honestly wish he was brought up from the practice squad a bit more when we had the injuries with Decker. He's a bit more of a reliable tackle for me than Dan Skipper is. Dan Skipper's great at that 6 offensive lineman role, really good at it. Hopefully we can bring him back for that. I know he's a free agent again this year. Jamarco Jones, if something happens to Decker again, if something happens to Saul, I trust him a bit more overall as a tackle than I do Dan Skipper, because he's a bit better of a pass protector. And he's been there, done. He started games at tackle, especially for the Titans, where we got him from in the offseason. Again, bit of reliability there on the offensive line. And Ronnie Bell as well, who... yeah, he'll probably be wide receiver 5-6, sees 10, 15 snaps a games at most. Probably won't get many targets, but again, just keeping wide receiver room flowing, because we've got Amon-Ra, we've got JMO. Behind them, and we've got Khalif, who's a returner, but Khalif's going to be wide receiver 4. We need a few other guys there just again to keep the engine running, kind of there. Try him out. We know we tried it last year with Traquan Smith from the Saints, and that was a dud, but that's the kind of thing you need to do. You need to look at these good teams, because San Francisco, for as much as they had some bad wide receiver injuries this year with Debo and Ayuk, they've got some pretty damn good receivers, to the point where someone like him, who was highly thought of in the draft process, was on their practice squad. Like, I'm going to say his name, and I know quite a lot of Lions fans don't like him. But when you're buried behind Juwan Jennings, who, is a bit of a dickhead, but, is the kind of thing this team likes as a blocker and an ex-receiver. When you're buried behind him, you're cautious you're not going to get many snaps. It might be his chance here, if Tim Patrick cashes in from his very good year with us, to go and get a big contract again after being buried so long on the Denver Broncos IR. We need someone at that ex-receiver position, and Bell might not be perfect at it, but again, it's another option there. And then as for the defensive guys, well, Maurice, UDFA, unfortunately was chucked in there at the end of the game, and it's him and one of the guys who brought back, Stanley Thomas Oliver, who caused that 11-man on the field issue that obviously helped the Commanders beat us. But keeping these practice squad guys around, just for that bit of continuity, it just allows us that sort of, we know what we've got and what we need to look at in free agency in the draft. Then we've brought back these guys who know the system, because offensively it's probably going to change a bit with Morton coming in, and I'm actually kind of predicting a bit of a change on the defensive front as well with some of the moves we've made, as we'll discuss in a bit. Just having these guys who've been there, done that, know the process, and are happy to be practice squatters and stick around for at least for now. And then if they get a better opportunity, sure, they can go. But just having these guys, it gives us that sort of head start on free agency at those positions, so we can go, okay, we've got Jamarco Jones now. Maybe we don't need to go and swing for a big guy to come and be our swing tackle, like a Mekhi Becton, who probably will get a payday after the year he's having with the Eagles. Just gives us a bit more security going into the next couple of months in terms of our roster for me.
You know what, Ash? I'm not buying anything from Ash, because Ash can sell water to a well. He actually had me feeling good about all that stuff. He had me thinking, you know what, I'm gonna go right now. If Ash did that same thing to me and told me, I'm gonna give you this box, okay, that's filled with $1 billion, or this mystery box, and he just sold to me the mystery box, I would take the mystery box. That's good. That was good. I like that, Ash. Man, good job.
Thank you.
And I'm going to move this on, man, and I'm going to move it on to coaching losses, and maybe you can speak to that a little bit. So it just, in terms of the timeline, first up, obviously we talked about Ben Johnson last week. That broke while we were recording. So moving on from that, the next to leave was the defensive line coach Terrell Williams, who's joined Vrabel in New England as defensive coordinator, worked with Tennessee and Vrabel for many years before he joined us last season. So not unexpected that that's happened. Then Aaron Glenn joined the Jets as head coach. Lions now get 2 third-round picks, one in 2025 and one in 2026. 2025 pick is going to be 101 unless anything changes. Antoine Randall L., wide receiver coach, then joined Ben Johnson at Chicago as wide receivers and assistant head coach. And then JT Barrett, assistant quarterbacks coach, also joined Ben Johnson at the Bears as quarterbacks coach. And lots of coaches moving on. Glenn expected, the others potentially not so much. Were you expecting, one, for us to be raided a little bit more by our former coordinators, and two, just, I don't know, what these guys mean to us, especially like the peripheral guys like Randall L. and Williams. They're big tone setters out there.
I mean, it was always expected. Like, this has been a very good coaching staff. The development of this team has been second to none, in a lot of these positions. And, we were expecting it coming, because a lot of these guys were potentially due promotions. Some have been able to go and get them. And to be honest, it's a good thing for the organization. And good teams, this happens to them. And, this was a staff we assembled out of nothing. We threw a load of darts at a board and prayed they'd stick. And for the most part, they did. And on the rare occasions they didn't, then, swift changes were made until they did. So, I'm happy for them all. Every time someone gets promotion, gets up in their line of work, that's a good thing. And, we want this to be an organization where, we don't want to lose guys every year, but at the same point, we want guys who are good enough that they're going to feel coveted by other teams, and other teams want what we have, and they want to be us, like the Bears are showing they want to be us right now. But I trust this organization to go out and find the right replacements for these guys, and we've already started bringing guys in. We're excited about some of them. We've had good appointments made. The defensive coordinator, really looking forward to seeing him get his action. Like, I always said he's the second guy I'd run through this team for after Dan Campbell, and he's having them both in positions of power now is going to be great for us. But yeah, it was to be expected, and I don't think it's as bad as it could have been potentially. We kept the important one, which was Hank. Like, that was the big one. Always was the big one. You've kept him, and the most important thing is we've got Dan here and we've got Brad here, and while ever they remain in post, then nothing will change here. So. I'm very happy for the guys who've got their promotions elsewhere. Hopefully they do well. Wish them the best, and yeah, let's move it on with our guys now, and because we've got a Super Bowl to go win now, so yeah, all the best to them. But yeah, it's a good sign for us. I can't remember the last time we had this many. We've probably not had this many staff poached in the last 2 decades, let alone in one off season. So it just shows where we're at is a good place to be at.
Yeah, I mean, I probably say 3 decades. I mean, I can't remember what we had. You have a coordinators. I don't think I ever remember a coordinator coming from the Lions to be a head coach somewhere else. Like, I don't really ever remember that. I've been a Lions fan since the mid '80s, mid to late '80s. So I don't think I ever remember a Lions. I don't ever remember a Lions head coach going somewhere else and getting a head coaching job. So to get 2 coordinators to get head coaching jobs in 1 year is phenomenal. I wish Aaron Glenn all the best of luck. Ben Johnson can kick rocks. That's because he went to the Bears. You don't go to a rival and expect and think you'll get good luck from me. Absolutely not. But Aaron Glenn, I watched his presser today, and I see the Bill Parcells, the Sean Payton, the Dan Campbell. I see that kind of fire in him, and I've long thought that he was ready to be a head coach. I think he's gonna do a good job up there in New York. And all the best to him. But and you look at Terrell Williams, he had no loyalty to Detroit. I mean, he was a kind of a 1 year guy. I never saw him as a long-term guy. I thought he was going to be one and done till the next opportunity came up. And you're absolutely right. Keeping Hank was the best thing going. I think that keeping him from regime to regime was one of the best things that the Lions organization did. Because you look at even going back, I remember the press conference where they named him the head offensive line coach, and then what the response was from the guys, from Taylor Decker and those guys. Man, they love him, And one thing I can contribute to him is the development of Frank Ragnow. I mean, guy played center 10 years in the NFL. He was an undrafted free agent himself out of Robert Morris University. Guy, he was a self-made guy. I mean, going to the Eagles, I think he played for Cleveland. He was supposed to play for the Rams, but then he got hurt and he kind of switched gears and went to coaching. But um, I long thought that he was going to be an integral part of the offense just because of the fact that the way the run game was and the way that the offensive line play. He always was the next, like, that's one group that you never had to worry about the next man up because there was always going to be continuity on the offensive line. He had those guys ready to play no matter who went down. I mean, think about it when Ragnar went down, man. He had those guys still humming and still playing at a high level. So they've been one of the best offensive lines for the past few years, and he's the reason why. I mean, he has developed that offensive line into something good. So I like the promotion of him to run game coordinator because I believe that he was an integral part of the offense. You look at what he did with Ben Johnson with the intricate blocking schemes. I just believe that he was going to be he was that. If you look at, you had teams interviewing him for, or at least Seattle interviewing him for an OC job, so you can see how valuable he is on the offense. But yeah, and then Shep, come on, man, love Shep. Uh, um, like the guy. I think it's time for him to shave him. He got that receding hairline and those dreads, but I still love him. It made me try to cut those things off.
If Stevie Wonder can still do it in 2025, he can. So you leave him alone.
Man.
Let's leave receding hairlines out of this one, please.
I mean, but and I think the most interesting promotion for me was Deion Hamilton was the most intriguing. Just because of how young he is. Guy's only 20 years old. He's the same age as Frank Ragnow. And they're exact. I think they're in the same draft class. I mean, you look at that. He wasn't in the league that long, but he saw something kind of reading on his backstory. He was like, he saw the trajectory of his career. He didn't see what he liked, and he said he didn't say he was too big to be a practice squad player, but he wanted to switch his trajectory of his career and to go into coaching. And the Lions getting the opportunity after having him being a player coach, in camp for a while. They saw how he could direct players. They listened to him. So, I mean, having that young guy, you hear his name in coaching circles that he's an up and coming guy. So, why not promote from within? You don't have to bring a guy in. You don't have to change the verbiage. And it's one of those things. But I like those promotions. And good luck to, like I said, good luck to Aaron Glenn, Ben Johnson, kick rocks. What you got?
Yeah, Luke, just to round out all of that, so Hank Fraley, as has been said earlier, O-line coach now promoted to run game coordinator. It looks like Tanner Engstrand is staying. He's the pass game coordinator. His wife has celebrated Hank staying, so it looks like they're staying. Chris Spielman staying because the Jets GM position went elsewhere. Kelvin Shepard's gone from linebackers coach to DC, and we've also promoted Sean Deon Hamilton, as Kurt just mentioned, from assistant linebackers coach to linebackers coach. Just for me, I just think Sean must have seen what was happening with Shep and Dan and just been inspired and been like, I can continue my playing career, but I see myself elevating who I can be by staying here in this environment, and this is the best way I can do that. But Luke, these guys that we've kept or promoted, it's a really positive sign for this organisation. I mean, a lot of these guys could have left with the people that have gone. They could be playing their trade in Chicago or in New York, but they've decided to stay here. And there's some guys that are really quite promising.
For me, I look at it like this. This is bigger than just who stayed and who went for me. You got Kurt talking about how long he been a Lions fan. Here go a fun fact for you. Since 1963 to 2024, the Lions have had one coordinator go on to be a head coach. Do you know who that was?
Mm-hmm.
Don Shula.
Oh yeah, that's right. He was Don Shula. That's right.
So you talk about from 1953 to 2024, and we already had two of them do it. And to me, one of my favorite lines comes from Remember the Titans, where it says, attitude reflects leadership. I don't care who left. As long as the leader was Dan Campbell, I was good. I don't care who left, how they acted the building, it didn't make no difference to me. I actually love that Ben Johnson went to the Bears, because my attitude to it is, if you can't be the guy who offense you've been running for like 3 or 4 years, shame on you. You should know him at the back of your hand. You should know him better than he know himself. And sometimes those little things make a difference in how a person plays. And yeah, he's going to know your tendencies too. But in terms of Hank Fairley staying or Tyrell Williams leaving, I can care less. The leadership's attitude still remains intact. The leadership's vision still remains intact. The talent that has been acquired still remains intact. The mission still remains intact. And as long as all those things remain intact, the rest of it I can care less of. They could have told me that they was hiring Big Bird to be the offensive coordinator. I believe in Dan Campbell. Okay? I believe in Dan Campbell, and I believe in what he did. A lot of people thought he was crazy when he hired Aaron Glenn. People thought he was crazy when he promoted Ben Johnson. People thought he was crazy when he said he's going to bite your kneecap off. But now they see that this team don't even give up when it looked like they should. And so to me, coordinators be damned. Your head coach is the reflection of that half. This is why people like Bill Belichick didn't sweat not an ounce when his coordinators left, because he was the attitude. When you look over there and you look at some of the greatest head coaches in NFL history, they lost many coaches. And those teams kept going because guess what? They don't flinch. It's their attitude, their vision. This is the reason why Kansas City keep losing people, but they'll look like nothing changed. So for me, I'm good. I love what they're doing. I love seeing people finally get picked up from us. Any fans still saying SOL or like that hating Rob Parker who can't help but try to find some kind of way to be right, right? Those people like them, y'all keep on holding y'all breath. Just while y'all praying for somebody else's downfall for y'all to be right, y'all still gonna end up being wrong. And even when you're wrong, you're gonna want to be right at some point in time. And I don't concern myself with those. But in terms of looking at this team as a whole and how they're redoing it, that's what you want to have. I trust the leadership. I trust Dan Campbell. I trust his vision. I trust what he got going on. And he said in the press conference that he's going to be more hands-on than ever because he don't like this feeling. So that to me are all positive signs that lets me know that we got the right guy and the right type of attitude in the building for us to go on and win and to get this thing done right.
Preach, Reverend Luke. Preach.
With the get rich or die trying quote. I'm loving that.
Hey.
You know what I'm saying?
Hey, I'm just telling you the truth. That's how much I trust that head coach.
And he said, when I'm right, I'm right. And when I'm wrong, I'm right.
That's right.
You are right, though. You are right, though. As long as the core culture is intact,
yeah, true.
That is all it is about. You establish the culture, and then people come in and adapt to you, and that's what fans like Bears fans, some in the chat don't seem to understand, is that our core culture is intact, and as long as it is, we're going to be a dangerous team. So
You talk, man.
I want to run through a wall for Luke now, man.
Broski can kick rocks too. I love you, Broski, but you can kick rocks too.
Oh man,
you can kick him with bare feet.
Ash, I know that you're probably going to have some takes on this, so I'm going to get to the two people that we've hired, and I'll give you Casey Rogers, and then I'll come to Ant for the next one. So defensive line, obviously we lost Tyrell Williams as DC to New England. Casey Rogers is the former defensive line coach of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. How do you think he's going to fit? What's he going to bring to the Lions?
Well, I think he's going to be great fit. Number one, because it's Dan using his Rolodex again. This is someone that there was a slight overlap with them. So just as so they were together 1 year just before Rogers went with Bowles to New York when Bowles became their head coach. There's a bit of an overlap there between the two. But for me, that's what we needed. He was, as soon as the Tyrell Williams news started coming out, I did my thing that I'm famous for. I started looking for the coaching ranks, and there was two people who I saw were coming out of contract. I was like, these could work. One was the Steelers defensive line coach, who also works with the outside linebackers coach. He's out of contract. And the other one was Rodgers, who at that point was also getting some interview, was slated to get an interview with Green Bay. And it turns out we sniped him from Green Bay, you know. And this is a guy whose defenses, I think, ever since he's been a defensive line coach, which was about 12 years ago, his defenses have finished top 5 in yards allowed and or sacks pretty much every year except for 2, I believe. And you look at some of the guys he's coached. The Dolphins, Cam Wake, Sue for a bit, again, Sue in Tampa Bay, Vita Vea, Will Goldston. This is a guy who takes defensive line talent and just elevates it to the nth degree. He even did it with the Cowboys when he was an assistant there. There's a quote from, I believe it's the Pride of Detroit article that was posted today about him, but it came out when the news when it was circling that there was a guy the Cowboys took in like the 6th round. And when that guy later on the podcast was asked, "Oh, who's the most influential coach on your career?" he said Casey Rodgers. And that's the kind of thing we need. We've lost one of the best defensive line coaches in the league who, pretty much took our job as a stopgap because he knew whenever Vrabel was going to get hired again, he'd go and be his DC. Like, that was almost a certainty. We replace him with, yet again, one of the best ones, which is one of the good things about this regime, to kind of build up what Luke was saying. Like, we lose all this talent. So with Anthony Lynn, we have fired him and everyone's like, what are you doing? It's a former head coach. Doesn't make sense. We eventually replaced him with Ben Johnson and things improve. We had a bit of an issue on the defensive line. Todd Wash did the same as Williams, only took the jobs because then he could jump and be a defensive coordinator somewhere else. We would have that stopgap with John Scott Jr. Then we bring in Terrell Williams, and the defensive line, in some ways, improves. Other ways, did leave a bit lacking, unfortunately. Rodgers is the kind of guy who can take that up a next step. He really does develop talent. So I know Vita Vea was very highly regarded coming out, but it really helped him sort of, especially with his hand usage and how to be aggressive with it. He also supposedly teaches the defensive line basic offensive schemes and formations. So when they're on the field, if they see a motion, they see a change in formation, instead of scrambling and being like looking to the sideline for help, they've got the instincts up there between their ears to be like, this is what's happening. This is what I need to do to change my technique, my pass rush attack plan, and my gap control to counter their formation. And it will work here. He'll love working with Hutch. He'll love working, especially with Aleem. Like, we thought that Aleem had a kind of breakout year before he unfortunately tore his ACL. If he comes back fully healthy, and now I could see Aleem really balling out next year, having that kind of Dexter Lawrence, Chris Jones kind of year that we'll hope from him. And he'll help the other guys as well. He'll hopefully be able to take the athletic projects in Broderick Martin and finally get something out to him. He might be able to get DJ Reed a bit back to what he was like with his Texans and his Bengals career, where he has a bit more impacts on the pass. He might be able to get a bit more out of Zadarius Smith. Levi, if we bring him back, Mickey Wingo, when he comes back from his injury, he can take all these guys and elevate them. And that defensive line could become really fierce, like it used to be way back with the Silver Rush and that. And it also, don't quote me here, I know I asked Ryder Church about it when the news came out and I theorized it in our Discord. With the way that he likes to run his defensive lines, I could see us moving back to a 3-4 kind of look, putting Zadarius Smith and Hutch out on the sort of outside linebackers. It would fit Okwu as well, to sort of loop back to that, because Okwu's 6'4", 260. He's more of an outside linebacker build. Same with Mitchell Agude. Fit them a lot better. And so you can load upon that defensive line. You can use Aleem, DJ Reader, and Levi if we bring them back all at the same time instead of having to rotate them. We can have that fierce pass rush and still defend the run, which will keep the linebackers behind him clean. So it'll make Sean Dion Hamilton's job a lot easier as he's starting to coach those guys who, some of them are like younger, like older than him. I know Anzalone's about a year or two older than him. So imagine that. It's kind of like the rumors that go around, and we might look at Blau for our assistant QB job. Imagine that for Goff, all coming into work one day and suddenly your assistant coach is the guy who was bench warming behind you for your first couple of years here. So I love the Casey Rodgers hire, I really do. And I think it could take our defensive line just that little step up to being that fierce pass rush we really need it to kind of be, while still keeping the run control that seems to be the foundation of how we like our defenses.
And to move on to the next hire that we might be making in the next few hours, it looks very much like it's going to be Broncos pass game coordinator John Morton. Per Schefter, he's expected to be the hire. He was with the Lions in 2022 as an offensive assistant. He actually interviewed to be the offensive coordinator the prior year before we hired Ben Johnson. But obviously been with the Broncos the last couple of years. And I mean, what the Broncos have managed to achieve this season, I mean, with a minuscule amount of cap, with how much they had to eat with Russell Wilson, Bo Nix coming in, looking, I mean, borderline like, I mean, one of the better rookie quarterback seasons we've seen, apart from one that we happened to experience in Washington very recently. But it's been a great offensive performance this year and by the Broncos, and who knows what we might see from him. So how are you feeling if it is Morton?
I mean, you know, it's to be decided at this point in time. Obviously, it's not the flashiest hire in the book, but you know, you look at what he's done at Denver, as you say, the passing game coordinator. What you've done with Bo Nix has been, you know, nothing short of incredible, really. What people doubted him coming into the league, especially his ability to start right away and look as good as he has in year one. And you know, he looks $1 million, and you know, he's had a great year there. And I think for us, you know, because, you know, if you are going to be bringing him in, you know, he has a reputation of liking to pass the ball. And I know it's maybe unwarranted with the teams he's had in the past. But given that you've just promoted Hank up to run game coordinator and he's doing all that, you're going to bring in a pass game specialist as well. Like, I like the possible idea that you're going to marry a committee together to have guys who are especially going to look after these areas, and then you can plan a game plan around that because, you know, as Luke has said, and quite rightly so, you know, sometimes in Ben's case, his problem has been right in the hot hand. It's been, you know, we've had a lot of slow starts in the half. It's trying to figure out what's working on the day and sticking with it. That's been his one Achilles heel, and that's really what's cost us in the playoffs here to now have this committee where you've got two specialists in, and hopefully, I'm thinking maybe Dan's going to do some play calling as well, potentially. I don't know how it's going to work, but I think this committee might work better, and we might make more sensible decisions, and we're going to have two great guys in who are experts at what they're doing, and it's just going to take someone to wield them together into a formidable plan. So I actually I really like it. I know all these guys are going to work together and do well. So, you know, it's, you know, not one that sends you running to the hills going, oh my God, this is amazing. But I think actually in the long term, we will reap good benefits from this. And hopefully, you know, we do learn just to manage our offense a bit better and just, you know, find the weaknesses and stick to it and just keep with it. Because that's the one thing maybe we haven't done so well.
Any other thoughts?
I look. Oh, go ahead.
No, you go.
No, you know, I looked at these possible hires, and again, I'm like when I heard like it's John Morton, I had a Star-Lord moment where I was like, who? Like what? Like, you know, like, but I have to remember what Dan Campbell said at the end of the year. He said that he allowed his coordinators to coordinate, but going forward, he is going to be more hands-on. He is going to be more involved in the day-to-day operations of the offense because that's where his expertise is or should be. And so one of those things that I look at with that is the fact that those people will be able to come in and not have to feel like, hey, I got to take this great offense with talent and be amazing off the back. No, he's going to protect them the same way he protects players. He's still going to run the ball. He's still going to ask you to pass the ball when he won't pass it. He's still going to tell you, hey, I want like I want a third of our playbook for fourth down calls alone. So those things are not going to switch. And those are the things that we should look at and be excited for. All the rest of those other things, I'm not concerning myself with. I'm excited to see what the new OC is because I do believe that people were starting to figure Ben Johnson out. People were starting to understand Ben Johnson's tendencies. People were starting to understand what Ben Johnson liked to do with his concepts. And then he, for some reason, started second-guessing himself because people figured him out. Like, I always talk about this with our D linemen. When I look for a defensive talent, especially on the D-line, I'm looking for not your first move, but what happens when they stop the first one? Do you got a counter? If there's some type of second or third move, that's how I'm evaluating it. And so when I look at this team in particular, in their signings that they're bringing up for each coordinator, I feel really good about it because one thing about this team is it is a team. We move as a team, we win as a team, we'll lose as a team. And that to me lets me know that, hey, if he wants to sign Willy Wonka to be the offensive coordinator, it's going to be a whole lot of candy plays, but I'm taking it. I'm taking it because I believe in that leader. I believe in what he's doing.
Yeah, I look at this hire. I kind of. I'm not gonna sit here and lie and say I wasn't kind of questioning it because there was another guy I had in mind. But you kind of look at kind of digging into his background and what he did when he was here. Um, Said hey, had a very good relationship with the players on the offense, so particularly golf. So, um, and you look at his role as the OC, like I said, Dan Campbell is not going to let him sink or swim. He's going to be more hands on. He's going to be more in line to what Dan Campbell wants as the head coach, what he wants out of his OC. So I don't think he's going to just come in and have free reign to do whatever he wants to do because Dan Campbell's like, nah, you know what I'm saying? I have a vision and we're going to execute this vision no matter what. So it is what it is. I'm okay with the hire. I feel better about it now than I did before we even started recording. So, I'm okay with it right now. Thanks guys for having me on. I gotta take off, man. I appreciate you guys, man. You can check me out on the Boss Up Ball Out podcast. The links in the chat. Thanks, Matt, for putting it down there, man. You guys are welcome to come on. I know my man Ant, he usually comes on. I might have him on later on this week if he can get on. Luke G, my man, good to be with you again. Ash, good to meet you. And my man Colin Firth, aka Matt Turner, man. Appreciate you having me on, man. Thanks, man.
Cheers, Kurt. Appreciate you. Hope to have you back on soon.
Will do, man. See you guys.
Take care, Kurt. See you soon.
See ya.
All right, be safe out there, man.
The only other 2 points on the coaching side of things, he's now obviously left the team, but Ben Johnson named Pro Football Writers Association Assistant Coach of the Year, and Brad Holmes was the now second straight time Executive of the Year from the Pro Football Writers Association. So well done to the Lions front office and coaching staff. That's great news. Some more national recognition, especially from the football writers. I feel like that matters almost more than anyone else because, well, these guys are the ones actually paid to do it who have to write their shit down. And they don't speak about it, run their mouth on YouTube like we do. And, well, they have to graft for a living. So if they think it was good, it must have been. Going to go into a little bit of the back at the season that was, few stats coming your way, and then just kind of chat about whether, really, when we look back, whether it's a success or not. So obviously the Lions went 15-3 in the entire season, starting out with a win in overtime against the Rams, losing against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, before winning 11 straight games at the Cardinals versus Seattle Seahawks before a bye, and then at Dallas, at Minnesota versus Tennessee, at Green Bay, at Houston versus Jacksonville, at Indianapolis versus Chicago, and versus Green Bay, before the solitary regular season loss in the second half of the year against the Buffalo Bills at home, before 3 straight wins to finish the regular season at Chicago, at San Francisco, and then versus Minnesota to clinch the number 1 overall seed, before falling in the divisional round against the Washington Commanders, who obviously lost yesterday against the Philadelphia Eagles. In this season, obviously, we were hit very much by injury. On injured reserve to finish the season were wide receiver Antoine Green, tackle Connor Galvin, guard Natane Moody, defensive tackles Carl Pico and Mekhi Wingo, defensive tackle Ellie McNeil, edge players John Kaminsky, Marcus Davenport, Aiden Hutchinson, Nate Lynn, linebackers Derek Barnes, Malcolm Rodriguez, cornerback Carlton Davis III, Khalil Dorsey, Emmanuel Mosley was on NFI, Ennis Rakestraw had his window open but hadn't yet been activated, and then of course Amik Robinson broke his arm in the very final game, and kicker Michael Badgley was also on a IR. God, that feels like a long time ago. Also missed time in the season, wide receiver Khalif Raymond, running back David Montgomery, and linebacker Alex Anzalone. They traded for the edge players of Darius Smith in the season. To remind you of the compensation, that was Smith and a 2026 7 for a 2025 5 and a 2026 6, and then notable in-season signings: Defensive tackle Pat O'Connor played some significant reps, as did edge player Al-Qadim Mohammed and linebacker Ezekiel Turner. In terms of the overall stats for the team, this team finished first in PFF overall with a 93.8 grade, second on offense, fifth on defense. As I said about DVOA earlier, second overall, third on offense, fifth on defense, first on special teams, seventh time that a team has been top 5 for all three since 1978. And then an EPA, overall they were second, offensively they were third, defensively they were sixth. So all three of those metrics are basically in lockstep with each other. The Lions were one of the best teams in the league and were one of the best teams that has ever been seen in the NFL, in the DVOA era, through about 8 or 9 weeks. So it has been a historic season despite falling a little bit short. Boys, I'll come to Ant first. Just to put it into context with all of those injuries, I'm feeling a little bit out of breath just having reeled off all of them. And some of them, like Connor Galvin or, Nate Lynn or whatever, Michael Badgley, you shrug your shoulders and say, well, they're probably not moving the needle. But some of these guys were slated to be starters. Some of them could have been Defensive Players of the Year. Some of them weren't the starter, but they were the next guy up, and then they also fell by the wayside. The fact that this team, in terms of those overall metrics, is still top of the league, despite the fall-off that they had towards the end of the season, just goes to show just how good this team was early on, and kind of what a travesty that we're kind of sitting here talking about it in this way.
Well, that's the thing, though. No one's going to remember it. It can be as good stat-wise as it wants, but nobody's going to remember it when all is said and done in 10 years' time. I mean, it is not to say against this team. What this season is, this season was we had a Super Bowl caliber team and it got wrecked by injury. That's really what this season is. And nobody's insignificant on IR because depth matters. Like, it's bad enough having starters missing, but you got most of your starting defensive line missing. No Hutch, no McNeil,
Davenport was a starter.
You've got no Davenport, you've got none of these, you're missing your linebackers for crucial periods. We had no Commish all year, we didn't see him at all, and then you go back in second year, you've had injuries there. We've not seen Mosley at all. We've had Rodrigo out. It just, and when you've got that, and then your depth starts to get hurt as well, it's just one step too far, and it's very difficult to be able to keep going. Now, other things we could maybe have done differently, could we have gone a little further maybe with the offense and that, but we were always going to be uphill, when it came, to keeping points reasonable. I mean, does anyone look at that Philly team and the way it's running the football and going, oh my God, our defense would have had its work cut out against that? Like, even though it would have been at Ford Field, we would have had our work cut out against that. They'd have given us a lot of problems, and it's just because you're down so many starters. And, that's just a really disappointing part of it. This was the start of our window this year. And, before Hutch went down, that you're like, yeah, this defense is humming. With the run defense is as good as always. We've got a top tier pass rusher who's a game changer who can go out there and win this for us. And we've got an offense that, despite the problems it's had and that, it's one of the best in the league, and it can outscore anybody on its day. Hell, it nearly took down Buffalo when we were down literally every starter on defense, pretty much. And that's the most frustrating thing, is that it's kind of out of our control how this has happened. And as you say, the season that has been we've got so many great records in the books. Players have had career years. The team's had a year. We've redefined standards here now. But at the end of the day, the injuries have just meant that it's going to kind of be for naught at the end of the day. We've got to go again now. And, every season in the NFL is different. This was a big opportunity for us in terms of the route we got, in terms of the opposition around us, having the home field advantage for the first time. And, it is an opportunity missed, but at the same time, it's an opportunity that was made incredibly difficult for us just because of circumstances out of our control. So it is harsh. Because, the league evolves, the schedule gets no easier next year. There's no guarantees next year that things are going to be the same. We've got a lot of new staff coming in. The team may look a lot different. The NFL is just such a volatile thing where you can go forwards and backwards so quickly that it's hard not to be disappointed by this despite everything that's gone on. But at the same point, I also think it's premature just to really hit the panic buttons and say, we're going back to same old Lion territory again. We're not. This team is quite clearly better than that. It's just, again, circumstances really outside of its control and maybe, just a few subpar coaching performances when we really need it. But for me, overall, you look at this and you say, up until this year, every year had been a step forward and improvement. You go on from the 3-win team to nearly getting in the playoffs, to getting to the NFC Championship game. I still think we've achieved a lot this year. Like we've got the first seed for the first time in forever. 15 wins for the first time. We have still set new standards here this year. We've just ultimately fallen short now. As Luke said earlier, next year is now the really critical one because there's nothing really we can do now that we haven't done. Like the next step we can take forward is to get to the Super Bowl. We're not we win 15 again. We've done that. Like that standard's been set. We now see, can we take that next leap to the final standard that we need, which is to get to Super Bowls, and it's going to be really critical for us, and it'll be tough. Like a lot of these defensive players aren't going to be ready. Aleem's not going to be ready. Malcolm's not going to be ready. We've got aging guys in there as well, but I trust Brad. But it's a critical year for us now. You're going into year 5. We need to make that step forward. But yeah, this season was just, we all knew it. The wind got sucked out of us because just of these injuries, man. They just suck. And I know every team gets them and it happens, but this happened at an unprecedented historical rate. So, frustrated, but I'm still hopeful, and I still 100% believe in this regime. And it's in its end purpose. And I think that's the main thing that matters. I've not gone back anything in terms of my thoughts of them on this.
Luke.
I think it's debated, it's debated that what the biggest window in the world is. And some people, according to Google, it says that the biggest window in the world is the South Rose window at Notre Dame Cathedral in Paris, France, or possibly the Taikang headquarters window in Beijing, China. And I think the Lions window is bigger than both of those. Their window of opportunity is much bigger. And I think this idea of looking at this season and saying that, the window is getting smaller and smaller, it's a load of baloney. And the reality is this. Again, the foundational things are still there. When I look at this season, it boils down to one or two things for me. One, when people say the injuries became too much to overcome, I don't think that was the case. I think the Temu shopping became too much to overcome. I think Brad Holmes' ability to be cheap on defense and expensive on offense came to roost. I think going out and getting injury-prone players on cheap deals, thinking that they're going to give us something other than the injury, was a joke. I didn't get excited when we brought in Marcus Davenport. In fact, I actually questioned why did we bring in Marcus Davenport, a man who had never finished a season ever in the NFL. And yes, while we had a number of significant injuries, the biggest loss that we had injury-wise was Aleem McNeil. And I know that's going to burn a lot of people up because their argument is going to be, but what about Aiden Hutchinson? Newsflash, even with Aiden Hutchinson, you still had no pass rush. It was what Aleem McNeil was doing that allowed for you to have that pass rush on the outside because he was blowing the middle up. And if you don't believe me, go look over at the Eagles, Jalen Carter. He completely caused so much disruption of the middle that it was nowhere for nobody to go. And these things happen on a regular basis. I think overall that the Lions season was a reflection of Temu shopping. You could have had a real ninja blender. You opted for the Temu version. It wasn't even called a ninja. It was called a N, right? It just had the N. You get the N blender, and that's what we went out there with. And luckily, we had good enough coaching to take the N, study it, and say, you know what? I probably ain't best I put no ice in this thing because it's going to break it. But I could put a lot of water, a little protein powder, and make something happen with it. And that's what I believe we get when looking at this team. Were we misfortunate in areas? Sure. Were we fortunate in others? Sure. But what we were consistent enough to say, you know what? Yeah, we got a guy down. The next guy got to come in and perform. And what happened was the strongest part of our team showed up, performed, and when it didn't, we would get that rare defensive stand where it's like, oh, where did that come from? Nobody saw that coming from. I know. And you look at what they have with the Eagles. I love that matchup. If you look at the Lions, what were the Lions really good at on defense? The run. And I would have welcomed them coming in trying to run the ball on us. Where we would have problems is that mobile quarterback. And this is something that I address many, many times. While you're taking project players, there were players still on the board that you could have added. You could have added a Solomon Thomas who's still playing for the Bills. You could have added an Austin Booker who's on the Bears, right? But you're taking project guards. So this season to me ain't the same old Lions season for so many things because we are constantly knocking the walls down one after another and showing that we're different. Where we're going to have to, what's going to happen is we're going to get what I call the Steeler treatment. The Steelers are expected to have a winning record, and their fans are starting to get upset about just having a winning record. I'll take the winning record until I can break through, but I'm not going to complain about it, and I'm not going to apologize about it. And I think that looking at this season and all the things that occurred this season, it's evident that we can't keep doing this. We got, 33 to 36 free agents that's hitting the free agent market, and I think 7 of them are offense. That means that the rest of them are defense, and many of the defenses, they had about a couple of starters in there. That's absurd to me. You can't keep being cheap, doing things a cheap way, and then get mad when it becomes expensive, because it ultimately did. It cost us more being cheap, adding injury-prone players. You had a chance to walk away from Mosley. You gave him another shot, and he still couldn't unseat the rookie. You bring in Marcus Davenport like he did something with the Vikings that made you go, ooh, he got something left. Those little things to me made a difference, and I think overall the season reflected, and I expect them to correct those things. I don't care about the awards that they receive. I expect for them to fix the problems that's been the main problem since they came here, and that's the defense. And this is the season to do it. This has to be the season it gets done. No ifs, ands, or buts.
Ash, fundamental question to you then, is the season a success? This is the key, taking into account all of the injuries, all of the production, how things changed through the season, how it ultimately ended, where there might have been holes and whether they've been addressed and whether we're still moving in a positive direction and all of that stuff. Boiling that down to that one question, what do you think?
Given the context of the injuries and that, I'd say it is, but I can see why people say it isn't, because we did technically take a step back by losing the divisional round instead of getting to the conference championship and losing it like we did last season. But there was enough signs to show that the way that we adapted with the injuries, we overcome them, the fact we were able to pull people off basically off the street like Pat O'Connor, AQ and all that, and get them playing well. It gives me hope that, next season, where hopefully we will regress to the norm with the injuries and with some of the other things that went against us, like the penalties, especially on the way we were getting called on early in the season with those penalties. We gave up some of the most penalty yardage in the league. If that regresses back to norm because that reputation we'll be able to not fully replicate the 15 wins, I don't think, because next season schedule looks very hard, though. Of course, we said that this time last year where we've looked and saw we've got a first place schedule. I'm like, can we really do it? But for me, if next season, I know this is looking way too far ahead. We're talking like 11 months in the future right now. But if looking ahead to then, if we don't get the first seed, if we only finish 13 and 5, let's say, and we get that second or third seed, I'd still count that a continuation because we've still got into that dance. So that's what we need to do now is we need to, be kind of like the Steelers in a way in terms of just constantly being around the fringe, being always in the conversation to get into playoffs, because as we've seen with the Commanders, who would have thought they would go this far when they got their way into the playoffs? No one would have probably predicted it unless you're a massive Commanders fan or you're just come back from the year 2015 and got that sports almanac from Back to the Future 2, and you can see that they go that far. As long as we get to that dance and we're not as injured as we were this year, if we still got most of our key players, we've definitely got a chance. It's just that this year, unfortunately, losing Aleem, which I completely agree, that Aleem was the big miss because the interior pressure and what he did made everything easier for the edge rushers. If we have him healthy, if we have Hutch healthy, if we have the secondary healthy, because that's been our big weakness the past couple of years, is being down to cornerback 5 and 6. Like, I dare anyone to name something about Stanley Thomas Oliver other than the fact he came in and played a couple of snaps for us against the Commanders. Like, does anyone know anything else about him, really, other than he's about my height? Not really. If we can just be that bit healthier, bit closer to full health, we've got more than enough chance next season. See, this season was a success because we made that step and we got those positive signs, despite regressing overall in terms of end result. It still showed the progression for me in terms of being able to overcome those injuries, because last year we didn't. Like, being down some of our injuries with Carter going down with the broken jaw, we still were able to keep some the receivers down, because remember the stretch at the end of last year where if you're a wide receiver one coming against the Lions in the last 8 weeks of the season, you knew you were going to get 150 yards and 1 touchdown. That wasn't the case this year, so we made that progression.
You know what?
Sorry, go on, Luke.
No, I'm gonna let you. I just wanted to say this about what Ash said. I like that he said put it in context in terms of if you look at the injuries and stuff. But I want to be clear to us as a fan base, the Lions organization and us as a fans base do not see this season as a success because the standard and the expectations are much higher. Mm-hmm. And every team, including whoever wins the Super Bowl, minus that team, the one who loses it is going to say that their season is not a success. The Bills won't tell you that their season is a success because everyone is literally like little sperm chasing the egg. And whoever gets there is the real winner. And unfortunately, we're not one of the sperm left in the race. So my attitude to it is no, it's not a success from a technical standpoint, not by the organizational standpoint, and not by the fan base standpoint based on expectation. But it's a success in building upon things that were already broken and getting better and better and better. And that's a reflection of that quote. Rome wasn't built in a day, but neither was New England Patriots, neither was the Rams or any other organization who were building up their dynasties. It wasn't built in a day. And that's what I want the fan base to recognize. Put it in context. Understand that your team went real far with significant holes in there, right? Like that is the ideal situation to look at and say, we went this far and we didn't even have all our dogs or horses on here. Oh, I can't wait till next year. And that's the benefit of it. Go ahead, Ant.
So I say, look, you've just posed an interesting philosophical question then, with your thing. So whose fault is it? Is it the guy who produced the sperm or the sperm for not getting there on time? Like
I love that. I love that. And I hate to say it, but it's the guy who produced the sperm. He's always going to be the person that you look at, and that guy is Brad Holmes. He has to be the one to address the biggest weakness legitimately. I'm not saying add in scraps here. Like, don't get me wrong. Jack Campbell played better this year than he did from last year. That's great, right? He's a rookie last year. He didn't look like no first round pick. And this year, he didn't look like no first round pick, in my opinion. But when you go through and you look at it, yeah, you got some hits. Brian Branch is a hit. Kirby Joseph is a hit, right? I believe Terry Arnold had a good rookie season. I believe that's a hit, right? So, you got some hits there. But you have to really get down to the nuts and bolts this year and not be cheap. Because all the guys that I named were drafted in rounds like 2 through 5. And that's talent. The highest defensive player you've taken to date has been Jack Campbell and Aiden Hutchinson. And the Aiden Hutchinson pick, you were picking so high that the pick made itself. So for me, I'm very critical of it because the guy who's producing it, he need to eat more healthier. You got to cut the sodium back, okay? Because it's starting to affect the health of the team. And so my attitude to it is if you can effectively address it, because we're about 2 to 3 players on defense away from being dominant and scary. And that could be another pass rusher and a linebacker, right? And if you can address those 2 spots, then get it done. But I got tired of watching the Bills linebacker, Milano. I got tired of watching every play he was in it. I'm like, golly, every play? And on the other end, a lot of Lion fans wanted Nick Bolton. Nick Bolton really caused Josh Allen a lot of problems. We don't have that guy.
Yeah, or Leo Chanel,
I think
as well. But
I think Luke does raise. Sorry, very quickly. Luke does raise a point here, and I'm now in this category as well. When it comes to Brad, that there is one thing he does need to start doing when it comes to this roster, and I get that, you know, given where he started with the roster, and we've you know, needed a lot of depth on this team. We've taken a lot of one-year deals and flyers and stuff like this. And an injury cannot be helped in the NFL. We see with Aiden on one random play, he breaks his leg, which basically ruins our season. But I think you're getting to a point now where we're at, where you've got to start getting hard line with some of these more oft injured players. Like the Mosley boats ran out now. I'm done. Like, I'm sorry, 3 years. You've had your chance. You've got to go. Davenport, and I know this injury wasn't his fault, it was a dirty play, but as Luke said, he's never completed a season before, and that's come to bite us again. And our depth has been exposed this year, but we've also got a lot of injury-prone players on this team. After this year, we're going to be carrying a lot of players into next year who have had bad injuries this year, and we need, if there is any sort of threat to their long-term future, if there's any, you know, possible worries, that you have to start trying to make your odds better. Like, to Luke's thing here, got to start eating more bananas, you got to start getting more calcium, start producing higher resilient guys to go in there and do your job. You can improve your odds a little bit. We've got to stop going after these injury-prone guys and making them a central part of what we're about, potentially giving them a 53-man roster spot. Because if they're not there, that's another hole you've got to fill. And, you know, we're at a position now, we don't need to be taking a load of one-year flyers. And we've got a lot of our starters here. We've got a lot of good depth here. We need to fill it out. So we've got to start getting hard line on some of these guys who can't be here for us. And, you know, unfortunately, that is where we're at right now, because we've seen what the injuries have done to us this year, and we need to try and minimize this as much as we physically can in the realms of things. So the Brad does need to do that this year.
yeah, I don't disagree with that. Just the 4 drafts that we've had so far in terms of defensive players that we've taken, and I'm just going to list the hits and then I'll list the misses. But I think Levi hasn't had long enough to say he's a hit, but this season was at least very encouraging for his progression, and I think he's done enough to maybe be brought back. But I think he's on that injury precipice still until... if you look at his career now, if he leaves in free agency, it's a miss. There's no doubt. But this season was good enough.
Listen, whether he leaves or stay, he's still a miss. He has never been bigger than the draft position he was taken at. He does not look like a second round talent defensive tackle or D lineman at all. That has to be a miss. No matter how much you want to slice it, what he did was what most players do. In the year that matters the most to get that second contract, now we can show up. Oh, that stub toe that I was playing on, I'll fight through it. No, it is a miss. It is an absolute miss based on the fact that you can look at who else you could have had at that position and maybe more productive than what you got out of him. It's a 100% a miss on Levi.
I definitely agree with other players, especially some who have left in the Dan Campbell regime because they weren't able to fight through things. And there are a couple of players I can think of that kind of fit that bill. But with Levi specifically, his was a career-threatening injury. There's we all thought he was going to retire. It was that bad, you know, like the spinal fusion surgery and stuff. I don't think it's a matter for him specifically of not fighting through it. But I take your point. If his career in the Lions was done now, he's a miss. There's no doubt about that. But I'm just saying that this year was encouraging. But Ali McNeil, 3rd rounder. Derek Barnes was the start of the season. I thought he played great before his injury and at the end of last year. That would still be borderline for Derek, but he's a 4th round pick. The next season...
Yeah, borderline.
The next season, we had Aiden, we had Kirby, two that I would say are both hits. The next season, we've had Jack, who's working his way to being a hit and branch, who's perhaps the biggest hit of them all. And then this past season, Arnold, I agree with you, Luke. I thought he played really well. Rakestraw is obviously a miss at the moment. Let's see what happens there. Meki Wingo, for a 6th round pick,
I don't give Rakestraw a miss. I don't give him a miss just yet because I always give players at least 2 seasons before I start to like really judge them. And I think that he wasn't used as much as he could have been used because he reminds me a lot of Brian Branch, who can play safety and nickel and outside. We just never got around to using him, and that's because they were trying to get him back to full health and get him a full shot at playing, than to have him go in and get down on himself when it don't go well. But I get what you're saying, though.
No, it's more like, okay, you can't say he's a hit yet, I guess is what I'm saying.
No,
but
correct.
Out of these 4 draft classes, you probably can't call Arnold a hit yet either, but I thought he had a reasonable season. So if you say Arnold and Wingo look at least good, or they're trending in the right direction, you've got Campbell and Branch, you've got Hutchinson and Joseph, and you've got Aleem and Derek. The big misses in there, the biggest of all is probably at the moment Josh Pascal, who has never really shown the promise that he needed to deliver from his draft position. I think that's more disappointing than Levi. I mean, Pascal doesn't have the injury excuse that Levi does. Pascal has been injured plenty, Ash. I'm not saying he hasn't been. I'm saying his has been far more minor than Levi's has. There's not been career threatening, and he hasn't been able to fight through it.
I think injured is injured. It's not a matter of severity, but injured is injured. And and believe it or not, Pascal has been more available and given us more than Levi. Levi's had 1 sample size in a contract year. I'm not impressed with that.
So Levi has played 6 more games than Pascal, and he's had 1 more year with the team, according to the stats, which are not that reliable, but whatever. So it's not like defense has been totally ignored, but I do think it probably means this year that we do have to focus on it more than 50% again.
Did you happen to notice that when you got to naming all those people, right?
Mm-hmm.
I want you to focus on this. How many of those people that you named were in the front 7 that was drafted?
So Levi and McNeil, Pascal and Hutch, and that's it. Oh, and Wingo. And Broderick, okay. I guess. Broderick's a miss.
Right. And the highest pick on there is Aiden Hutchinson.
Yes.
And the next highest pick would be Jack Campbell.
Yep.
And the next highest picks were Levi and Pascal.
Arnold would have been higher, 24, but yes, otherwise, yes.
I'm sorry, I forget Arnold too. Yeah, I'm sorry. But I'm not counting him yet, but because he's not in the front 7. Arnold's not in the front 7.
The
reason I'm bringing this up is because one of the things that I did this whole season is when people ask me, how do you see the Lions losing this game? I said, any team who does not go after our linebackers are idiots. And the teams who went after our linebackers succeeded against us.
Yeah.
From the Bills to the Bucks to the Commanders. And that is why I look at this team and I said, we have to do something to get another complimentary guy to go with Aiden Hutchinson and Liam McNeil. Okay? Because don't get me wrong, Reader did his little thing, but Reader didn't scare nobody. He wasn't blowing the middle up like Liam McNeil was. Okay? And the linebacker, I'm sorry, I've watched Jack Campbell too often. He tackles blind. That's why he broke the arm of Amik. He just tackles blind. And I'm telling you, we need to address further in that linebacking core, because if you were a coach coming into a game against the Lions, your first thought would be, where's their weakness? Yeah, I could run at the D-line, but the linebackers are even more suspect, and that's where I will go at. And that's why I stress that we need to address the front 7, and we got to stop shopping that T-move to do it.
So what Luke's saying is we really, really missed Malcolm Rodriguez after his injury, and we need him back.
You know what? I am saying that because it was that bad. It was.
Oh my God!
Bad.
Record that, Matt. I need that. I'm gonna play that every time I'm on Luke's stream in future. I never thought I would get him to say that.
Listen, I'm the person who's telling you that we could have upgraded from Malcolm Rodriguez, and they went and did exactly just that. But as Lonnie is getting older, Jack Campbell doesn't look like he's capable of being the green dot guy. So that tells me I need somebody that's a little bit more athletic, a little bit more agile. I'm tired of watching quarterbacks who are not even fast outrun our linebackers. I'm tired of linebackers being in perfect position to close on the tackle, but for some reason they take a poor angle and it looks like they're trying to clinch their butt so they don't poop on themselves while chasing the player. I'm sick of seeing it. So yeah, we need to upgrade that front seven. We need to get it significant enough. I want to see them take a swing that's going to have people saying, "Oh wow, they mean business." And right now, we're not saying it. Eagles had injuries. There's no Brandon Graham over there, right? They got injuries, but is it as significant as us? No, because the Eagles didn't shop on Temu. They went out and got Hassan Reddick. They added a speedier guy in Smith from Ohio State, and you see how he get down every time that Daniel thought he was going to get away. They had a guy like Smith who hawked them down and stopped it. We don't have that. We need that, and we need it bad. We need that guy who can do that. I remember when the Lions used to go against the Falcons when the Falcons had Michael Vick, and I was coming to the game thinking, "Oh God, Michael Vick's gonna have 1,000 yards rushing in this game, right?" But I remember we had linebackers like DeAndre Levy and Tulloch who hawked that guy down and was like, no, we're not doing that. We don't have that guy now, and the quarterbacks are getting faster and they're getting more savvy, and we need that guy. And so that's why I'm saying you can't keep being cheap. This is the year you have to give your team a shot and add significant help in that front seven that brings a level of impact in such a way that even when we start to look up there and see that this guy's not performing, let's say Aiden Hutchinson goes 9 games and don't get a single sack, because I don't want to hear about pressures. Everybody talks about pressures, but they don't talk about pressures in context. They just, it's a pressure. Yeah, but what's a pressure to you? How do you define it? See, for me, it's simple. If it results in a negative play because you disrupt the player off his spot, that's a good pressure. But I watched the Lions go against the Raiders, and I know for a fact that Max Crosby had a bunch of pressures. By the pressure standard, all those were positive plays for touchdowns or first downs. So I just want more consistency from our general manager to say, I've been here 4 years. I gotta really dig in and get the defense right.
And I'm sure that will be a big part of the focus. I mean, whenever you hear about the Lions and any of us or any of the people like us talking about things, you talk about the number one thing people want on this team. It's an edge player, it's a defensive tackle, or it's something in that realm. So I'm sure that the Lions brass are probably thinking the same thing too. We are going to continue this chat all the way through the off-season, as we, of course, always do. We're going to be looking ahead in future weeks to the players that potentially could be leaving in free agency, the other players that might be leaving other teams in free agency that we might be interested in, and bits and pieces too. So I'm going to draw that discussion to a close and now turn our attention to next week's show, which is going to be our annual award show. It's our fourth one, can't remember. Fourth, I think, where we're going to be handing out some awards. So, boys, we need to come up with some nominations, and you in the chat, you're especially needed for this, because I want to come up with the nominations, and there'll be a couple of fan votes in there, and then the Royal Alliance guys are going to vote for their ones as well. So I'm going to go through what each award is, and then I would love it if you guys live on with us and live on the show at the moment in the live chat can suggest some things and bits and pieces that you can remember through the season that have happened. So
hey Matt, can I give you a title for one of the awards you should hand out?
Sure.
You should have the Unsung Hero Award. There's a player on his team who is such an unsung hero that I'm shocked that it went unnoticed and it went underappreciated, but he should be the Unsung Hero Award winner, in my opinion.
We've got 2 long snapper enthusiasts on the show.
Oh, shut up.
I literally think I was thinking the same. I was about to go and get his jersey out here. I was going to get Hogan's jersey out, just hold it up like, there we go, it's one.
Well, you can't have a record-breaking kicker without a record-breaking long snapper.
Exactly.
I just know that there's a player who is truly unsung in terms of his recognition and how he was able to do so much that it just went unnoticed. People just happened to unnotice it. That's all.
Okay, well, Luke, why don't you make a nomination for Unsung Hero? I've just added it into our awards because I think that's a really good choice. So, Unsung Hero Award is going to be awarded. Who do you think should get it?
In my opinion, the Unsung Award should go to Vildor. This guy showed up on special teams. I was panicked every time he came into a game. And ironically, he showed great signs of improvement. Ironically, he showed great signs of being able to say, you know what, I can do this. I know that everybody's going to go back and reflect to the play against the Commanders where they're like, oh, he's punching for the ball. I want that guy. I want the guy who wants the ball. And yes, could he have made a better decision to go for the tackles? Sure. But if he punches that ball out, great, right? Like, that's a great move. But I just think Vildor, a guy that I literally wrote off last season and was like, oh, he back? Oh, God. And the guy stepped up. He showed up and he stepped up big time for him on special teams when they needed him. When he would be called upon for injury or non-injury or give a person a break, he stepped up and he performed. And we gave him a hard time last year because he was terrible. But whatever our coaching staff did, it worked. You saw the improvement. And he made some plays. And I think he should be one of the nominees for it. And on offense, a guy who should get unsung, but he probably won't. Because why would they? And that's Brock Wright. Fullback, tight end. what do you need from a special teams? This guy was literally just like, hey, where you want me at, coach? Like, put me in the game. And people don't realize this, but a lot of those crucial third downs, he was a benefactor of those. So those were my two nominees, offense and defense. And special teams, you know, I hate to say it, but it wasn't much to give out on special teams other than one particular player who I consistently saw shoot down there game in and game out and make tackles, but he was terrible on our defense, which was Jalen Reeves-Maben. But hey, I digress. Those will be my nominees for that award, but I'll let everybody else throw their unsung hero in there.
Anyone else want to throw an unsung hero in there?
People can probably guess mine. Timmy P. Tim Patrick.
Okay.
That's a really good one. That's a really good one.
People who listen to the show will know how much I was calling for an extra receiver, and you saw when he was fully integrated into the system, what it did for us, filling in that Josh Reynolds role over the middle on the sort of intermediate crosses as a blocker. You saw the offense pick up with him, and he's probably going to turn that into a payday either from us or from another team who will look at it and say, that's the kind of receiver we need.
I like that, Ash, because I agree with you. When Reynolds left, I was like, oh, snap, who's that third guy that you can entrust in? And he was very reliable. He caught more than he dropped. And some of the catches that he got, I'm not even sure how he got so open. So, yeah. I'm with you.
And any thoughts for unsung hero?
I mean, you've got to put Levi in there. Like, the dude's come back from a career potential ending injury. He's played a full season healthy just like that. And he has been very good for us on that interior, and especially we've needed him with Aleem bin out. But going forward, if you get him on a good contract, that's a big part of your interior rotation done there. But 12 months ago, for all intents and purposes, he was done. And he's back now, and you've shown great resilience. And not a lot of people talk about it. Like, he's the kind of guy that Comeback Player of the Year award and stuff should be about in the NFL, not just a QB who's been hurt, who's back again. It's like the guys who've genuinely had to overcome career-threatening odds and are back playing regular football again. So I'll put Levi in there.
And just to throw in one for me as well, a guy who, when he got his limited offensive snaps, actually looked really good, and it's a shame he's buried on the depth chart, but maybe our best special teams player, Sione Vaki, thought he looked really, really good. No one went more under the radar than him this year. Right, so we've got two for the fans, which are Fans Moment and Fans Player of the Year. So, guys in the chat, if you've got any nominations for Fans Moment or Fans Player of the Year, there's already two nominations in there for Fans Moment, which is Dan Skipper receiving touchdown and Goff receiving touchdown from Amon-Ra. I think those are two very good shouts. Any other moments for you guys that are going to live long in the memory about this season?
The Detroit Lions fan base taking over away stadiums. What the hell was that? I've never in a million years would have thought that I would be hearing Jared Goff chanted in games we're not playing in. What was going on? Like, we're not even in these games. We're not playing against Denver. Why are they chanting Jared Goff? And so the takeover for me is the most memorable thing where I felt like it reflected. Like I hate to say this, but I think we were louder on the road than we were at home. Like, that's how much of an impact the traveling fans were. So kudos to them.
Anyone else with a moment or a player? Well, actually, a player we'll address later, but
okay, it wasn't a happy moment all in all because of what was happening, but the way that the player reacted. Brian Branch after getting ejected against the Packers.
That is
the double bird.
The double bird.
Yeah, the
I'm bringing that up again in a minute.
Yeah, those were two huge, like, we're gonna call those vulture flip offs he gave. Them was bigger than Eagles. Like, that was huge.
Moment of the year, fans moment. Seeing a life-size cake of Amon-Ra St. Brown stood on his head.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
We talk about the fans going crazy, like, Jesus. That thing was impressive.
Yeah, that was.
And I will say this, because of what the Vikings were doing with their celebration dance, I'm gonna need for the Lions to step their game up. Cause I just thought that one guy came up with all the greatest classic moments ever for celebrations, and I just thought, yeah, we got to be better.
So, Luke,
you say
it's like you preempted what we're moving on to now, because now we need to get onto the nominations for the Lions celebration of the year. So
I've got eight nominations written on my
Well, Ash, this is your award. This is something that you wanted to talk about. So give it to us. What celebrations do you want to nominate?
So I've even given them like little titles to hint to them. So the first one is one that will kind of be fresh in the memory. I've called it Dead and Buried, which is Laporta's celebration after his touchdown against the Commanders, where he pretended to be dead, Brock Wright, and that flipped him over as if he was on the blanket and then started piling dirt on him like they were burying him. I loved that. I gave that 10 out of 10, I think, when we watched that live. I just loved that one. And then the next nominee is Gibbs' fourth touchdown against Minnesota, which are called Crown the King, where he sits in that kind of regal pose and Amon-Ra came over and put the crown on his head. So I love that as well, just because, that's like record-setting, tying the record for our single game touchdowns, and, it was against the Vikings to really stick the finger up at them. So it was hilarious. Bates' game-winning field goal against Minnesota, where he hit the boom, the sort of like dance we did like that. Just the fact that a special teamer was able to have that sort of impact on the celebration as well. Like, most of the time, it is the offensive players that get the sort of shout out for it, but him sort of having that moment of becoming the man even for a bit was quite funny.
Ash, hang on there. So Bates' game-winning field goal versus who was that?
At Minnesota.
What did he do?
Yeah. It's called hitting the boom. It was like the flex and then the little dance.
Right. Cool. All right. Next.
It was so good he had to do it twice. Gibbs' touchdown at Chicago, where he grounded on the goalpost like it was a pole in a strip club. Because obviously he did it. The touchdown got called back to the half-yard line, and he did it again when he scored eventually the next play later. The fact he did it twice as well, didn't change it up, just the exact same each time. And yeah, that's the only provocative one we'll have. Obviously, we're not going to mention the JMO one against Washington.
That was so good. Why aren't we going to mention that? Was so good.
Fine, put it in there. JMO against the Commanders. Because it was that, and obviously there was Jake Bates making love to the Levi Stadium's field, but unfortunately, you can't class that as a celebration, can we? That was just him getting caught out by the TV cameras.
Yeah, what's next up for you?
We were mentioning provocative gestures by JMO. JMO's touchdown against Jacksonville, aka the Flying Beast mode. And all the controversy that shows where, the NFL made it their thumbnail for the week and then fined them.
Yeah.
Starting that. The next one, and we mentioned it with a cake, Amon-Ra's touchdown at Green Bay where he did the headstand. Just because, even though he's the third person to do it that week, he executed the best in my opinion. And, can you ever two say they've got a life-size cake of them doing it in a bakery? I don't think so.
Did you have any others, or was that?
Two more.
Two more.
So, yeah, because that's 6. I had 8 because I mentioned it. I was like, I need to cover the nominations because not many people will probably remember them. Next one's Kirby's.
Got Kirby. Go on.
Kirby's interception against Jacksonville, which are called Hey Cousin, Let's Go Bowling. It's where he got the interception in the end zone and then all the defense lined up as bowling pins and he bowled at them. It's a classic, but it was good. And then I've just mentioned it a minute ago. It's technically not a celebration, but at the same time, it was in a way. Branch's ejection again at Lambeau Field, where the bird was the word.
Oh wow, he's missed the best one out.
Go on then, Ant.
Luke will appreciate this. Hadouken.
That was
Hadouken is the best. Is the best one they did.
Who did the Hadouken? I can't remember.
It was Amon-Ra on Gibbs when Gibbs scored against. Wasn't it the first game against Minnesota?
I think so.
Okay.
All right. I think for me, my favorite was the mocking of Kevin Durant, a basketball player I really do care about.
Oh yeah.
Where Jameer Gibbs does the dance and it pissed him off so bad. He's like, "Oh, come on, man, you're doing too much." And for me, it was the interception by Kirby Joseph where he mocks the Vikings legend with the hard walk, like he. I'm trying to think what the player's name is on top of my head, but it's not coming back to me right now.
Wasn't it San Francisco, his second one, where he did the infamous walk that the San Francisco legend did?
Yes, that one. That's the game I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I thought that was so clever and so funny and so smart. And if I had to put one more in there, just because I thought that this one was more of a team thing, was when they threw the ball to Sewell, and he gets the first down. And if you watch the sideline over there, they all act like a tidal wave came when he threw him off to the side. I just thought, boy, that's love. You guys are starting to come creative with it. So those would be my favorite celebrations. But I'm sorry, my man Bynum over there in the Vikings, he brought back a Parent Trap. Like what? Like who was thinking of that? He did white chicks. Like what?
High School. He made me High School Musical, which is hard for me because that was my film growing up. I saw that in week 17, just before we played it. I was like, you fucking bastard! That's you ruined my favorite film now because he did that, the Camp Rock one as well. So many Disney Channel ones.
You name iconic moments. And he's done it, and I'm just like, yeah, we got to be better. we just gonna have to be better. That's all.
J.K. Perkins in the live chat says the San Francisco legend was Merton Hanks. He had a really long neck.
That's what it was.
There we go.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. Coming in the clutch, J.K. Perkins. Right, our next award that we're going to hand out is for the Game of the Year, and I think there's plenty to choose from, but I'm going to kick it off just because it was so dire in places and we still managed to eke it out. The win against Houston sticks out to me as a terrific win. When you have 5 turnovers and you can still win the game against a team that won a playoff game last year and went to the playoffs this year, that's a remarkable game. So I'm going to go for the Week 10 game at Houston.
Okay. Mine is going to be a little different. And I again, people are not necessarily going to agree with this, but it's the game against the Dallas Cowboys. It's the beginning of the revenge tour for me. You come out the first play and announce an eligible receiver just to be petty. And everything you did that whole game was to show your level of pettiness to the league and the BS refs who snatched the game from us last year. And not only do you do everything petty, you called every trick play that you could come up with to embarrass them and dropped a cool 47 points and only gave up 9. That to me was by far the game of the year. It showed so much disrespect. It showed how long and strong their memories was. And it also showed me that if need be, we can put you away and put you away fast and for good. So the game against Dallas, 100% is my favorite. It was as if though Patty Luke showed up and called the game. And I was proud. I was so proud of their pattiness. Their pattiness should be applauded. There's no level of pettiness like what the Lions did against the Dallas Cowboys. And it was so petty that the Cowboys defender, Michael Parsons, was like, I've never seen a more pettier team in my entire life. I just want to let y'all know that I'm proud of you, Detroit, for that. Thank you for that moment.
Who else has got one?
Mine.
The last regular season game against Minnesota, where we got the 1 seed, because they ran their mouths all week about us, and then we absolutely killed them. And it was just a statement of our dominance over the NFC North. Like, we've been waiting years to get our vengeance on all these three, and like, just to see them have so much hope, just be completely eviscerated was fun.
Not to mention, they call themselves trying to buy tickets. Like they tried to pull a Drake. They tried to pull a Drake on Kendrick Lamar, only for Kendrick Lamar to be like, "Oh, I got free seats and I'm giving out free tickets, thanks courtesy of Drake." Idiot. So kudos to him. That's all the Lions did. They went, "Oh, we got these tickets purchased. We just gonna have standing seats and move them down there as the game go on." Brilliant.
Just very quickly, going back, do we have our moment of the year still to go, or have we done moments of the year now?
So, fan moment has happened. We didn't have a moment for us, but we can have a moment for us if you want.
If we can put it in fans' moment of the year. It's not Lions related, but the Commanders' Hail Mary against the Bears. Can we have that as moment of the year, please?
Yes, please.
That needs to be a moment of the year. Especially now what they've done with Ben. Yeah. Watching Chicago have a Hail Mary scored on them was glorious. And Stevenson's, thing afterwards, just
that was absolutely hilarious. I loved it. Ash, did you have a call for game of the year?
Yep. And for me, this game was the start of revenge tour in my head, because it was a team that we seemingly play every fucking year and had beat us until week 4 of this year. Seattle finally getting one up over those fucking dickheads. I loved it. And the fact, the margin of victory as well. Like, usually when they beat us, it was close, like the year before, which Matt won't remember because he wasn't here. But the overtime, it's always close. And the fact we beat the doors off them without even a good game, really. Like, Gibbs was our highest rusher with 78 yards. J-Mo had 80. Goff only had 292 passing yards. But we beat the absolute fucking brakes off them.
All right, we did have one suggestion as well for just the most complete game being the victory against the Jacksonville Jaguars in week 11, 52-6. So I'm going to put that one in as well. Thank you to Ken Stouder for the suggestion.
Matt, did you say call of the year? Like the play call of the year?
We do have a play call of the year, yes.
Because there's only one play that gets to be play call of the year. It's the fake fumble, not fumble, but we did fumble, but everybody yelled fumble and had even everybody on TV, including at home, confused. Play. There's no play. Yeah. That was absolutely mind-boggling. Even I thought he fumbled. I'm like, man, oh my God. And then the guy came, I'm like, wait a minute, that was a Zion? Like,
it was scarcely believable. It was amazing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the only way it could be. The close second is the Jared Goff touchdown pass from Amon-Ra. That was beautiful. So those would be my 2 nominees for calls of the year.
I've got them both in. Anyone else with any thoughts on play of the year?
Dan Skipper receiving touchdown.
That was special.
Monty passing touchdown.
Oh yeah, that was sick.
I forgot he even had
I've
one.
didn't draw that up. Play well. No, luckily, no one will be listening because we're not playing a card. No one. I drew it up from a flag football team. It's now one of our plays. I've got that in now. I managed to get it in. I'm like, yes. I'm trying to think what, because this is usually my thing, isn't it?
All of these things are your thing. You're the one.
Touche.
You're the elephant.
Touche. You know what? I'm gonna put it in there. I know we lost the game, but JMO's end around for a touchdown against the Commanders.
Yeah.
He ran, I think I looked at next gen stats afterwards. In total, his run was 130 yards. So
That's
insane
pretty crazy.
like that.
Yeah, that's nuts.
I mean, we've got like 1 billion hook and ladders we can put in this thing as well.
Yeah.
Like, given some of the...
Yeah, I would rather do like a defensive play, like that delayed blitz where Branch comes off the edge and gets the sack against the Vikings. That was a huge one.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, it's a few of them. It's a few of them. So
I would say potentially. Was it against Houston where Carlton Davis got an interception the very play after Goff threw an interception?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh no, that could come into moments of the year, the interception while Dan's doing his interview on TV.
That was so cool.
That was so cool.
Yeah, he's like, yeah, we need a turnover right now. Interception, Carlton Davis. See right there. There we go. I'll be back. like you can't beat those type of moments. Like, whoa, talk about a good moment. And man, it sucks, man, because I know I'm trying so hard not to spaz out on Jared Goff because I'm like, God. But I don't blame him as much as the other fan do because I felt like he should have never been put in the situations that he was put in. So
yeah, that's fine.
you know.
All right, I'm going to move on from moments and move to man of the year. So very much like Walter Payton style, off the pitch guy as opposed to the on the pitch guy.
Let me go first.
Go.
Let me go first on this one. Okay, it is without a shadow of a doubt Aaron Glenn. I listen. There are people on this panel. I'm not going to name them. I'm not going to point no fingers at them. Okay, even though I love them, I'm not going to do it. They wanted that man gone. They judged him. They drug him through the dirt, and all he did was say, "Give me those rocks, and I'll make you the best 4-course meal you ever had." And he did it. It is hands down Aaron Glenn. I don't know how you come above the amount of injuries that he came above to still produce how he had them producing. Aaron Glenn, bar none, not even close.
Any other thoughts on the guy who was setting the standard on and off the pitch?
It's the two obvious charity. Well,
I'd put JMO in there because again, you talk about overcoming, and like he is the player who is most integrated with that community. Like you see him out and about. It is. I will say this again. It is impossible to root against JMO after all he's been through, after everything that's gone on. He's got to where he needs to be. And he's shown a lot of growth, a lot of maturity. He's one of us now. He's fully part of this team, and I think he deserves a shout for this, given all the negative perception he's had to overcome.
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna give you a quick hot take. I think that's a good pick. I would not give J Mo a second contract. There, I said it.
Yeah, I just need to write down this list of things me and Luke disagree on. I've got several to go out here. So.
I would not give him a second contract.
I'll fire back. Man of the year, Hendon Hooker for having to sit on the bench all the time.
Oh, he came in against the Titans for a bit.
See, now look,
Petty Anthony's out. Petty Anthony's out now, Luke. This is what you've done. You've got Petty me out.
Hey, don't blame me. I'm just merely making a point. I believe.
I know
that he has. Like, I need to see some more maturity. At this point, I'm not seeing enough maturity. It's not there. It's not there. A lot of the negativity he got was self-inflicted. It was self-inflicted. And so as much as we would like to talk about, oh, this and this shouldn't happen, he did these things. That was him. So yeah. I'm judging him for that. Even in that game against the Commanders, you do the end around, you start celebrating. Clearly, you got some yards in between you. Get your butt in the end zone. We need that time. And then what you do? You don't got fined $25 million or whatever it was because you want to do a little R&B love bump and grind. Of all the celebrations to come up with, that's the one. Come on now. I'm just getting tired of the little antics and stuff. That's all. I'm just getting tired of it. Like that, like it should have been a touchdown. The one pass that Jared Goff threw deep to him should have been a touchdown. He misjudged it and slowed down. Mm-hmm. Like he's a veteran receiver at this point. So I'm just saying, if you gave me an opportunity to have Amon-Ra St. Brown and AJ Brown, I'll take that tandem all day.
Fletcher Lives Daily has just suggested Jake Bates, who I think is an excellent shout.
Yeah, he was one of my three.
Yeah, he went from kicks looking like they wasn't gonna go in to being like, okay, that looks great. That's great. Cause he had me horrified at first kicking the ball.
Ash, you said you had 3. Have you got any others not mentioned yet?
So it's the other 2 are the low-hanging fruit that are always in the news for their charitable work and that, and it's Goff and Frank. Like they're the one, like Goff with his like foundation that so a couple of weeks ago with the fires over in Los Angeles, and that him and his wife set up a donation thing for that, and then Frank with all he does for like the young kids with family bereavement and that, and just be the general tone setter on the offense as well. Like this is a guy that grits through. I know we mentioned earlier players don't play through injuries. Swift, but this is a man who carried on playing with a broken throat a couple of years ago. He's playing with 8 toes these days, and only missed 1 game this year.
Yeah,
like that's the kind of guy you want on your team.
Good shouts all. Right, coach of the year. I feel like that's quite tough. I mean, if you don't have all of the coordinators in there, I think you're missing a trick, probably.
Yeah,
really. I mean, yeah, so I'll put Dave Phipp first because you got to, yes. I think. But if you don't put Ben Johnson in, considering he is the literal assistant of the year, then nationally, I think you're missing a trick. Aaron Glenn's got to go in for everything that Luke said about him and all of us have said about him.
So which positional coach are you not putting in? Like for what Hank's done, for what Darrell's done, for what, Randall L's done. I kind of feel like this should be a put them all in there type thing because they all.
Yeah, you got to coach because sometimes, I don't know if y'all ever had gumbo, right? But in gumbo, it's so special because each ingredient that you put into the gumbo complements the next ingredient. And if you ever made a cake, right? If you ever baked the cake from scratch, you know that each ingredient complements the next ingredient. So to a coach of the year, just give it to the staff because it's impossible to say who's the coach of the year is on this team. I think it'd have been hard if you want to say who was the staff for this year. People ain't gonna like this, but it's Chris Spielman. Shout out to him for being a part of the process and making sure we get the right people in here and maintain those right people. So, but coach of the year, I'm with Ant on this. Throw the whole squad in there. Every last one of them. Williams, Shep, Randall L, Brunel, the Water Boy, the Towel Boy, the ATs, all of them. Put them all in there.
Right, I just need to take 2 minutes because we've been going a while. So we've got signing of the year up next. If you guys make some suggestions, and I've just posted the link in Discord for you to bring up. If there's anyone that you can put in there, that would be great. If not, then I'll pick it up on the edit anyway. But never mind. Anyway,
which one are we doing?
Signing of the year. And I'll be back in 2 minutes.
Let's find where down.
Yeah, I feel like signing of the year is easy too, and I'm getting close. I know these kids ready for me to play with them, but signing of the year to me is hands down like the easiest one is the one that I wanted when he came out of college, and that's Amik Robertson. He's everything that I thought he would be and more. He's aggressive. He's scrappy. He could play inside. He could play outside. I didn't even want him on the outside. I thought, I'm like, man, he's so little. How he gonna do it? But that little frame comes with a whole lot of heart, and he is by far the best signing that we had. He was, I know people are going to say, well, what about Carlton Davis? You don't understand. Amik was out there doing damage. He was doing serious damage to people. And I look at all these signings and I'm like, okay, we traded for, this guy. We traded for that guy, but nobody like Amik Roberts was doing it. Everybody and their mother thought Jefferson was finna eat. And he ate Jefferson's lunch and took no time on it. So hands down, signing of the year, Amik Robertson, it's not even close. It's not even, unless you just talk about like somebody who got like an extension.
I mean, for me, you put Kevin Zeitler in there because he's come in and he's solidified the guard position that we desperately needed coming into this year. He's played right guard. He's been healthy. Like, we've barely missed him. And at his age as well, I think he's played as high level really as you can get. And I think we've got everything and more that we wanted out of him. So I would certainly put him in there as sign of the year. You got any other suggestions, Ash? I know there's, like, in terms of players we did bring in, there was Betts, Davenport, Amik, Reeder, Pico, Zeitler, CJ Moore came back. Obviously, Jake Bates in there. So any others you want to give a shout out to?
One is Bates.
If we did a word signing, Davenport.
Yeah, Davenport probably would be in there, but definitely Bates. But for me, Bates is one of the signings because after we let go Prater, people still debate whether we should have done or not. We've had a revolving door of kickers. How Michael Badgley was supposed to be our starting kicker until he did his groin in training camp. I think Bates is here to stay now. And who would have thought that when we signed him? We just thought, we just brought in the guy from Michigan Panthers, playing to the hometown crowd. He could be our franchise kicker going forward. He broke Banson's record for points in the season. In his rookie season, like, this is a guy who can stick around. Yeah, he needs to maybe work a bit on the accuracy. I know me and Matt spotted it about halfway through the season. They changed how Hogan snaps the ball to help with his accuracy. When he has more time to think about it, it seemingly gets worse. So stuff to work on, but him solidifying a kicker position. I know he's brought up for me, he still is one of the signings of the year, Carlton Davis, just because that month before he broke his jaw, which is a freak play, he was playing as one of the best cornerbacks in the league. Not inside, outside, doesn't matter. He was in terms of any corner in the league, he was playing just up there with it. Well, Meek has been more steady and consistent throughout the year for sure. I love that sign as well. But Carlton, he had the high in terms of he was the best corner in the league for 2-3 weeks before, unfortunately, he broke his jaw and he couldn't come back from that. I know he's unfortunately a one-year deal kind of thing, so traded for him. But if we wanted to extend him, I wouldn't be past it. I still think that Amik is definitely a starter next year. So is Terrion. If we don't bring back Carlton, he's then mixed down the outside. But Carlton, I'll be happy if they brought him back. Also, be happy if we played a comp game situation like all good teams do. Let him go elsewhere, get a big bag, and start Amik and TA on the outside, and then have Ennis starting the slot potentially next year.
Yeah, so it kind of seems fairly self-explanatory, really, what we're going to go with for these. So obviously, both corners, Amik Robertson, Carlton Davis, you've got to put in there. Kevin Zeitler is going to go in. Jake Bates is going to go in there as well. And then I think just to flesh it out as a 5, I mean, Zadarius Smith is technically a trade this year and has come in. So I think you flesh it out to 5 and just put Zadarius in there. I looked through the rest of, again, who we bought in from that, and Betts is no longer here. Reeder, I think we'll agree, probably not had the greatest season in the world. It took a while to get going. Pico's obviously been hurt. CJ didn't get here, so I think outside of that, there's not really a lot more we can put in.
Well, Patrick, St. Patrick,
was he a trade?
Signing.
I guess trade and signing. So
he was a signing.
Oh yeah, put Tim Patrick in instead of Zadarius then maybe.
I feel like Zadarius can go in. That's cool. But Patrick,
Zadarius is a trade. He wasn't a sign. We still got him under contract for 2 years. That was a trade.
All right.
And
all
he
right,
was just
I'll
happy.
take
He was just happy to be on a winning team. He went from the Browns to a winning team, so he was happy.
Well, you can't have Carlton Davis if you don't have Zedarius, because Carlton Davis is a trade too.
Touche.
I think signing is meant to just be like
him.
new. Okay.
I said Amik was the best signing. We talking signings only. Amik Robertson was the best signing.
I'll amend it to new player to the team, just because we're not going to do a separate trade of the year. So just signing or trade of the year.
I would go with Meek Roberts, and another guy I would put as a good signing and unsung hero is Muhammad.
Oh yeah.
People don't realize how much he gave that team in that short. He did more than, in my opinion, than what you get from Zedarius. Like, Zedarius Smith ain't been nothing since he left the Packers. I'm sorry.
Al-Qadim had 3 sacks, which I thought was very, very impressive. I thought, given his limited reps, I thought he was very, very good. And actually,
but he was very in the run, getting near the quarterback, and a lot of those other plays that was made by other players, he was disruptive. So, but I do got to go, gentlemen. I have to go in and put the time in with the kids. They have patiently waited for me. To tell me about their day. I cannot thank them enough, and my wife has been so kind to keep them held down while I do this. So, but I do want to say, listen, from the moment I stumbled upon y'all page to all the years and time afterwards, y'all have been nothing but phenomenal, professional, lights out, amazing, and good. The content has been consistent. I'm with Carrie. It blew my mind when Anthony was like, "Oh, it's this time of the day." I'm like, "What? How are you still up? How are you functioning?" Like, he didn't have a bottle of nothing next to him, and he was still up. And I'm always in awe at what you guys do, and how detailed you are to know everything that's going on to the level that you guys do. And not miss a beat. And I'm here and I miss half the stuff. And I find out stuff a lot of times after y'all posted in Discord. I'm like, oh, that happened? Oh, good grief. Like, you guys are truly on top of y'all game. And I think that the success that y'all have now is nothing compared to what's coming. So, keep it going, keep it beautiful and light and having fun with it. And long gone, when I'm like out of the realm of YouTube, I can say, hey, there were people who seemed miles away from a sport, but yet they were so close and didn't miss a beat. And that's a testament to y'all research and time that y'all put into this sport and this game. And so to that, I say kudos to you all. And thank y'all for having me on. Hopefully I can come back next week and do this, scheduling wise, but I'm down for it if y'all have me.
Hell yeah, man. It's been great to have you back. I love your energy. When Ant was saying about running through a wall for someone and then you started going on a speech straight after that, I was like, hell, you're going for it as well. So
hey, listen, Dan Campbell got my attention.
There we go, man. I look forward to having you again soon.
Yes, sir. Y'all have a good one, gentlemen.
Yeah, you take care, Luke. Hope the family is all well and the newborn as well. So
yes, appreciate it, man. Appreciate it. Thanks.
Take care.
All right, we've only got a few more awards to go. So first up is the Most Improved Player Award. And can I just put the shout in for the guy who's come back from the season, career-ending injuries potentially, to come back and possibly put himself in the frame for a second contract, even if it's just a prove-it deal. But Levi Onwuzurike, come on, man. It's been night and day with what he's produced this season compared to the rest of his Lions career. He very much looks like he's getting back to his best. And if we don't re-sign him and he stays healthy, some other team is going to get a heck of a player because of what we have extended to him and what the work he has put into himself. So Levi very much deserves to be on here. Anyone else got any shouts for Most Improved?
Jack Campbell.
It's a heck of a shout. Yeah, he's come on night and day as well.
Mhm. And I'm probably stealing Ant's thunder here, but the guy who had a breakout season finally after a couple of years, niggled by injury and off-field stuff, until throws an interception on the second drive of the divisional game, second half.
Yeah, 1,000 yards. Come on.
Exactly. I've probably stole all the good ones now.
I mean, you haven't stolen all the good ones. Considering he had a down year last year and now he's led the league in interceptions. I mean,
yeah.
come on. You're
Kirby.
the brand guy for Kirby Joseph. Where is it, man?
I was like, let you guys in, and then I could say at the end if you didn't say it. But I was trying to be nice and give you. I've taken some easy layups. I'm I'm assisting. I'm trying to be like Cade. I'm trying to assist as well as score. Hashtag Cade for All Star.
You know what? This might appear an odd one on the face of it, but given how much he means to us now and just how much of an actual game breaker he is compared to year one, I would put Jameer Gibbs in there.
Yeah.
No doubt.
I think
yeah.
in terms of he did well last year, but this year he has become a true game breaker. Like his level where he's at now compared to 12 months ago is just unfathomable, and that's a most improved player can be going from excellent to fucking tremendous. That's still a big improvement. So
I'm gonna say, hopefully people will agree with me. He's a top 5 running back in the league now.
Oh,
Tim,
no doubt.
King Henry, Saquon Barkley. Actually, you top 3. Fuck it, top 3. Tim, Barkley, and Saquon. Accept it. Bijan, looks a better running back coming out in the league. It's a different fucking story.
I mean, the guy leads the league in rushing touchdowns. Like, that's...
Scrimmage touchdowns.
Yeah. But, yeah.
Complete, like over Jamar Chase, over Barkley, over Henry, over Justin Jefferson. No, it's fucking Jameer Gibbs. The person we got roasted for picking up 12. Oh, it's a reach. Blah, blah, blah. Suck my dick. Also, he's a 93 now. He's also a 93 now in Madden, which makes me sad. The week that they boost him up, finally, give him the recognition, is the week we stop doing the Madden Sims with Jeremy.
Do you know how many games he didn't score a touchdown in this year? Don't look.
Oh, there was some record. There was some record or something he got, hadn't he? Where did he not get?
I know he broke
it start at season. I'm going to say no more than 3.
Three. Hang on. No. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 games this year.
Mad.
But that still means that he scores in 14.
Yeah, and 4 of those were adds to the lead back. Every other game he was spitting with Monty.
It's insane. It's absolutely crazy. Okay, Levi, Jack Campbell, Jameson Williams, Kirby Joseph, Jameer Gibbs, most improved players. Anyone else?
Not really, no. Everyone else just kind of stayed the same as where we've had them in our brains. Maybe Aleem, but he's always been this good in a way. It's just it's finally turned, the pressure's turned into sacks.
Yeah,
I think there's enough there.
Yeah,
I don't think we need to go too far. Like those ones are genuinely we're not splitting hairs over them. They generally have got better.
Okay, next one up is the Rookie of the Year. So obviously the draftees were Terrion Arnold, Ennis Rakestraw, Giovanni Manu, Sione Vaki, Mekhi Wingo, Christian Mahogany. So I think through injury or lack of playing time, I think you can probably rule out Rakestraw, Manu and Vaki, to be honest. And because of his lack of time beforehand, is technically Jake Bates a rookie?
That's one of the things I was going to ask if Bates counted. But for me, I know you've ruled out Vaki because of playing time, but I want Vaki in because, top 5 in the league in special teams.
Don't you dare, Ant.
Yes,
don't you dare.
Hogan Hatton's a rookie. Hogan Hatton is a rookie. I'm sorry, but pretty much. Yeah.
Do it.
Hogan Hatton is a rookie.
He has to be
and he's played a lot. Varkey maybe, but like the rest of them just haven't played enough to warrant inclusion. Even Mahogany, like he's all right, but he's only played a couple of games. Like it's not really a competition unless you're really going to split hairs. So let's have the guys in there who have. So Bates and Hatton have got to go in.
Right. So is it just Arnold, Bates, and Hatton? Is that it?
I mean, Varkey did get awards for special teams and that, didn't he? So
okay, so only Vaki's in there as well.
You can
yeah,
kind of put
special
Varkey in
team.
there.
Hang on, who would have thought it? We're doing an award and Ant has pushed for 3 of the 4 nominees to be special teams.
Oh God, I'm getting old. Mellowing out on special teams in my old age.
Oh my
Special
God.
teams matters.
Jeremy Reisman would be proud.
Oh God.
What
is happening to me?
Man, I love it so much. There wasn't any undrafted guys that we carried, was there? Apart from the ones we've listed.
Maurice. I think Maurice was a UDFA.
Maurice played for us last year, didn't he?
Yeah, he played for us last year. He wasn't a UDFA this year.
Where was this year? Who am I thinking of this year? Because I know last year we had the safety linebacker guy. And
the safety linebacker guy is one of the ones we signed to a futures deal, though, wasn't he? He was. Oh no, I'm thinking of. Sorry, I was going to say Lauren Strickland.
No. Maurice Norris was the UDFA 2024.
Okay, all right.
Chris Smith's a rookie, isn't he?
No.
No,
Chris Smith was here. He was here. He was here last year because it was him and the other one that we really liked in the winter Rams. Because Smith was actually the worst of the two, and we're like, why would we re-sign Smith and not the other guy? Rams 2023.
Why you have a look at that? I think we've ended it there because
I
don't think we're going to find anyone else that can go in here. Yes. Okay.
I not remember.
So let's move it on to the next one, which is Defensive Player of the Year. Now, is this one a foregone conclusion?
No, because there's 2 very viable candidates. You know, the guy that was leading the league in sacks and pressures before he broke his leg, and then the guy that led the league in interceptions.
We literally...
Anzalone's a big shout for this as well. So
yeah,
you're not talking about stat padding; you're talking about importance to the team as well, as we've already mentioned. So,
are we really going to put in Aiden Hutchinson?
Yeah,
he played 5 games.
Still,
all right.
Corey Durden, that was it.
Yeah, good shout. Well done. Aleem?
The NC State players are memorable.
Everything Knox forgot his name. But yeah, Aleem's in there for me.
You're a twat. Come on, you know what he meant. Oh, man.
Who does the best player from Florida State or NC State come from on this team? Oh, wait, that's Aleem. There's a Wolfpack. There's no better
There's
Seminole
no Florida
on this
State
team.
players. There's not a Seminole yet.
That's why we're a good team. I'm joking. I'm sorry. That was
harsh.
Does Branch or Campbell
the Branch, of course, gets on there. Branch is one of the best at his position
Safeties,
in the league.
Yeah.
And like the weeks we have talked bad about the defense, like Buffalo and even against Washington, Branch has been the lone exception to having a great game, like a lot of these times. So you've got to put him in there.
He had his only rough game was when he had to move back into the slot after Carlton's injury.
And of course, he's given us one of the best pictures of all time, so that comes in to factor with this as well.
It's still saved on my phone all this time. After all this time, it's still saved on my phone.
That will be in 20 years. We'll still.
What was? I missed that for a second.
The double bird.
Oh, the double bears. Okay, fair.
I've got
Anzalone on, Branch on, Kirby on.
Yeah.
Anzalone, Hutch, McNeil,
I would
Joseph
say
Branch.
Aleem's in, yeah. Aleem, because he didn't miss 2 much.
Yeah, Aleem played 14 games.
Yeah, so he definitely
counts,
qualifies.
There's very few defenders who actually played all 17 games and were actually impactful. All 17 regular season games. Kirby and Jack are the only 2 that really stand out.
Poor Meek.
Okay, sorry. Amik played all
I know he was a
17 games.
sub-package role guy until about halfway through the season, but...
All right. Fine. Cool.
I'm looking now. Levi played more snaps this season than the Meek did. That's actually mind-boggling.
Yeah. Shows you how much of a role Levi was forced to play this year.
Yeah.
Right, offensive player of the year.
All of them.
Gibbs, Penne, Amara.
Right.
I mean, Goff should be in this. Like,
Yeah.
I think Monty and Gibbs both have 1,000 yards. Amon-Ra and Jamo both have 1,000 yards. The entire offensive line's played its ass off. The quarterback was in MVP shout at one stage. Like,
he's top 4. He's in the top 4 for voting. It's him, Allen, Lamar, and Barkley.
Yeah, literally. So I don't think there's really anyone you can keep off this. Like, at worst, like, Laporta's had a bit of a down year, but that's not. It's just because we've been spreading the ball around so much. He's still been good.
And the thing about Laporta is he
had
actually really came on strong down the stretch. He had a really poor start, and he still ended up with 60 catches, 726 yards, 7 touchdowns in the regular season. And
that's what I mean. Like, you should probably just put the entire starting offense in, to be fair.
Minus Graham.
Oh, yeah, just have, like, the both running backs in and no left guard.
Yeah.
That probably solves that one.
Well, I mean, so I think Taylor Decker had... he struggled in some bigger moments, and maybe part of that was down to Graham, but I think it's enough to rule him off the list.
Oh my god.
Poor Pro Bowler Taylor Decker.
This is the Decker stand talking as well. We need to take this.
But yeah, I think he had
Pro Bowler Taylor Decker.
He had a down year. I genuinely think the whole right-hand side of the line was absolutely fantastic. The Zeitler should definitely be on there. Sewell should be on there. Frank should be on there.
Yeah.
All right.
And then the problem with Monty is even though he topped 1,000 yards, he clearly isn't even the best running back of the season. So I don't think he can be a nominee for Offensive Player of the Year. I think maybe that's harsh, but Gibbs is clearly better than him. So what are we doing here? Am I being super harsh?
I mean, yeah. Well, I know. Then we have to choose one of the receivers. Then, if you can only have one in back, you can only have one receiver.
Yeah, like you'd probably be putting in Tim Patrick otherwise. So, is it Tim Patrick or David Montgomery?
Well, I wouldn't be dreaming of putting Tim Patrick on this list, to be honest. I really liked Tim Patrick, but he did disappear in the final 6-7 weeks of the season.
That's what I mean. Monty should be on. Like, I think you should just let the people, because I think they're all part of this. Because again, without Monty, we don't get the Gibbs we get because he's not as fresh. Monty does sometimes do a lot of the heavy sledging so that Gibbs may flourish. You plant the seed so that the plant may grow, sort of thing, and that's why they're both so good.
All right, cool. So I've put 11 names down. The ones I've put Taylor Decker in. The one I've excluded then is Graham, which seems super harsh now, but never mind.
No, it doesn't.
MVP.
Even he will say you couldn't get in there.
MVP, then.
Penne, Amara, Gibbs, Kirby.
Jake's broken the record for kicks.
Yeah.
And points. You can put Jake in there. He had a couple of walk-offs for us. How many walk-offs did he get this year? 2, 3? He had at least 2.
2, because it was Minnesota and I can't remember what the other one was. I should.
Right, so Kirby Joseph on defense, Jake Bates on special teams, Jared Goff, Jameer Gibbs, Amon-Ra, Penei Sewell.
Yeah.
I don't have anyone else on defense, really.
No, I think that's a fine list.
Okay. And right, so we've gone through that very, very quickly. Oto has just said MVP Jared Goff. He's none of you said his name. Shame. You just commented too quickly. We're getting there. I said it. The last one we have is Fans Player of the Year, which obviously can be whatever you want it to be. It can be just that you like him. It can be just for what he puts on the field, off the field, whatever you want. So,
Skip.
Yeah, Dan Skipper feels like a good suggestion here.
Who else has got a good? Because I'm trying to think of like people that like on a. Should we say Anzalone and Monty for the receptions they got when they came back from injury?
Yeah, I think that would be something. I mean, I think it will split opinion because I think he has just as much love as he has hate right now. Jared Goff probably has to be on there.
Yeah, white balance. I can't. We can't.
I can read it. It says vote for Hogan Hatton.
Oh yeah, Hogan Hatton. Yes.
Hogan Hatton is not going on the list.
Damn it.
If the fans decide he is, because it's not your vote.
Well, we've got lots of people saying Saul, so Saul's going on the list.
Saul, yeah, that's fair. Yes, Saul. Do a little bit of Saul.
Ken says Dan Skipper for best known bench warmer. Carl and Marker both say Saul. Fletch says Gibbs. Marcus says Gibbs. Otur says Skipper. More suggestions. This is the last one.
Foxy.
For fans player of the year.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I know it was a short video, but he has a good relationship with the fans, because he decided to pelt Jeremy with puns for charity.
There's some guy that I've never seen before called Antoine Fitzpatrick, who says...
Am I Japanese now?
Yeah, that's what it was meant to be. Oh, man. I'm channeling the DLP saying, Jeff, wow, he's done.
Jeff, he's done.
No, we have...
Oh, I'm French now. That's even worse.
Antoine Fitzpatrick. Fitzpatrick. Right. Hogan Hatton's on the list. Fine. I bow to it. He'll get 2 votes at most, and they'll both be you.
Don't forget Ash.
Both of you. Both of you.
Right.
You're not getting more than one vote each.
I have multiple emails.
We can create some more Google Mail accounts.
If you stuff the ballot box for Hogan Hatton, I will kill you.
We'll make you announce it as well. You can announce that one live on air.
Yikes. Right, we've had no other suggestions for players of the year. Ken says, is Hogan the long snapper? Yes, he is, Ken. It's the joke.
There's one person in the world has his jersey, and it's me.
Yeah. We have...
I mean, that's harsh. I'd imagine his mum has one.
No, not even his mum has one, no. Don't think so.
Not Ash's mum, I mean Hogan's mum.
No, I know that.
Because didn't Father speak to him, and he was like, "Oh, Hogan knows about me because of that." Maybe we should work the angle, get him on the podcast. We can ask him all about his long snapping technique.
So, since when did you know that you had talent for throwing the ball between your legs? Otur says it shouldn't be Jared Goff as fans player of the year. It should be the Jared Goff chant as a player in its own right.
The Jared Goff chant is the player of the year.
Yeah, I can't. It's a good shout.
Put a long snapper in. It's going to be too much for him.
It is. I'm going to slowly just die. Cool. All right. That is going to be all the nominations. And if anyone else has nominations, tweet at us and we can put them in. All right. The only other thing we have to do today, apart from address some questions that we've had, is just talk briefly about the championship games that happened. They were slightly disappointing, I will say, as a whole.
What championship games?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think you said something along the lines of, this is potentially the worst playoffs we've ever had in the NFL.
Yeah, I'm not lying. How many good games have we had in the playoffs so far? We had one in the opening round of them. And, obviously Bills Chiefs was quite fun, but I think overall it's been a disappointment this year. This is a real argument against having a 7th seed, because there's just too many rubbish teams getting in. and it's noticeable the difference between them as well. So, yeah, I know Washington was fun for a bit, but then it fell to bits. It wasn't great, and then the Chiefs one. It's just like, Christ, how bad are these refs going to get? I know I do moan about the refs, but I'm just, even at this point, I'm like, you're looking at them and you're like, that rivals some of the ones we've had over the years for how egregiously bad they are, and like nothing's going to change. But I'm not going to lie, there is a small part of me that is still happy the Bills are frauds, but the overwhelming part is Chiefs v Eagles. There is a good chance I will not watch this Super Bowl. I am not interested in it the slightest.
I unfortunately have to. I already put a better down payment to go with my flag football team. And, well, I did say it last week when we were previewing it. I said this would be my least favourite Super Bowl matchup, and it's happened again. Just, yeah. Bills Chiefs was kind of fun in a way. I watched a bit of Eagles Commanders when I was at the gym. I only watched till halftime, and then I turned it off because my phone was running out of battery. But, yeah. I agree with Ant. There's been 4 good games so far in this playoffs. 2 of them involved the Bills before. Actually, no, 3 of them involved the Bills, actually. And then the other one was us versus the Commanders. Only 4 good games. And that's me saying that, considering how depressed I was for that last hour of our game.
Yeah, you were dumbfounded. One of the best games.
Yeah, I was just done. I even still, because of course, obviously, this is the first time I've seen my flag football team since that happened, and they were just ripping into me. And I was like, "You think it's bad? Just go and watch the stream." But I was sat there for an hour, just catatonic.
Yeah, you were right.
So, I'm interested for the Bills stand on here. Like, there was this really interesting stat. I actually looked at it today, saying that a coach has never won a Super Bowl if he's not won in his first 7 years at a team. And now McDermott's just completed year 8. And it goes back to the whole philosophical thing is, would you stick with him in this scenario? That's 4 times you've had I want to say your ass handed to you, but you've lost 4 times to the Chiefs at this point now. And there seems to be a glass ceiling that you just can't break here 8 years in, and you've still never been to a Super Bowl. Like, do they philosophically have to start looking for someone else? No, do you just carry on as you are? Because, again, it's that thing, isn't it? It's like, I'd love to be a team that gets to the championship game every year, but if you don't want to make it further, ultimately there's no point to that. I'm just intrigued as to what your thought is on it.
So for me, I have a look at what the Bills were a decade ago, because a decade ago I think it might have been slightly longer, but a decade ago they drafted EJ Manuel.
That was 2014.
14, sorry, I thought it was 15, but okay, 11 years ago they drafted him. And if you have a look at where they were and where they are, that Bills team is the equivalent of where the Jets are now. Do I believe in the project that is the Buffalo Bills? And I still do. I mean, the thing is, if you have a look at the Chiefs, if you have a look at the Patriots 11 years ago, you're looking at trying to dethrone a historically incredible team. No team is 3-peated, and Kansas City is still the only team that ever seemed to beat you. I don't think there's a coach out there that is going to find some magic sauce which can just beat the Chiefs. So then the question is, can you keep consistently just getting to the championship game against the Chiefs and just hope to win one? And I do think that McDermott is the best choice for that. If you have a look at the season expectations for Buffalo coming into this season, people thought that they might be like a borderline 500 team or just above it because of how much they've lost and all these draft leaves they've had to bring in to replace them. They've traded away their star wide receiver, who was the guy who made Josh Allen, apparently, in Stephon Diggs. And you have a look at what McDermott did with this bunch this year. They've far surpassed their expectations. So, is it disappointing that they haven't got to the Super Bowl? Absolutely yes. Can anyone else do better? Don't think so. And if you keep getting to the championship game, surely one year you've got to make it. Surely. Well, any other team would look back at this and say, you know what? Not getting to the Super Bowl is not acceptable. But when you have a look in context of who you're playing against, it's like us saying we should get there, but our injuries are so bad we didn't this year. If you keep facing the Chiefs who play like that, what are you meant to do? Like,
this is the question, though, isn't it? This is just why I think it's a relevant hypothetical, because they've made the championship game twice now, I think. Like, hell, the Ravens haven't made it at all. Like, they've made it once under Lamar. And it's the same thing. It's like, where do you accept? Like, would we accept this from Dan and Brad? I'm just intrigued. Like, after 8 years, if we're making championship games, but we never get to the Super Bowl, are we still harboring this tone of, oh, well, we've ran into a dynasty and, I don't know. I just find it intriguing. Sorry, Ash.
See, I was going to say, well, but it's good things. Number one, well, records like that are meant to be broken, because one of the few good things about the Eagles making the Super Bowl is we could finally fucking get rid of that stat. It's like, oh yeah, QBs who lose their first Super Bowl never make it back. Well, that's fucking dead in the water now because Hurts is doing it. But also, yeah, like we had this discussion a couple of weeks ago. Well, and you were the one that made it, and the point, the sort of the mediocrity thing. When obviously we use Arsene Wenger as the example, and it can go one of either two ways. You can either have it, and I'll bring it back to American football. The good way it can happen with, and it's actually the coach who now is the head coach of the Chiefs, but Andy Reid with the Eagles, where they were in a situation kind of like this, where they could get so far, and then that's all they could do. And it was just time to go and change the new direction. So it works out for both of them. Obviously, Reid is now doing what he's doing with Kansas City, and the Eagles are back there, which is why I hate the fact this is being termed the Carson Wentz Bowl, because you've got other narratives there. But also, yeah. But also, like, it could go the other way, where you're consistent, your team is consistently finishing 5th, 6th in the Premier League, and you start to get in this habit where you don't accept that. So you're changing managers every season and a half, and you're slowly going down the table. Oh no, we're in a relegation battle. Spursy.
I was about to say, it sounds like Villa about six years ago.
10. We got relegated 10 years. It was 10 years ago. It was 10 years ago this year. No, because it's sad, because there's going to be a point in time where my Facebook memories are going to go, remember this 10 years ago to the day it's me biting into a cooking onion, because it was the Monday after Villa got confirmed as relegated, and I had to cash in a bet I made with my fucking friends at school. I had to do that. Fucking pain. Did not get the taste out of my mouth for a week. But anyway, but yeah, Spurs.
You're not bitter at all.
I am fucking really bitter about it. Because imagine that's me as a Villa fan.
We're going to be here
with a Baggies fan and a Wolves fan, and I'm the one that had to do it. It's like with the FSU thing. Yeah, it's never.
I was about to say, in 20 years, you're still going to be hearing about that. That year in 2023, when that playoff committee screwed us.
Yes, you are. You 100% are. But so that's kind of my point. Is I don't know what the Bills should do, because do they accept this kind of situation where they're consistent, they can make the AFC Championship game, but they just keep butting their heads against the wall. Like, it's 0-4 against Mahomes right now. Like, at what point do you say enough is enough? But at the same time, who else can come in and potentially get them over that proverbial hump? Do they say, hang on, Joe Brady's getting a lot of interest here. Do we promote him to head coach? Which I say no. I say no, they shouldn't. Because who knows, he'll be able to continue doing that. The fact that he's got protected by McDermott can just focus on coordinating. Probably won't work out. We saw what happened with him in Carolina. But who's there? Who can they bring in that will get them over the hump, really? Counter the black magic of Reid. There's only one person I can maybe think of, and unfortunately, he's tied into a contract down south for another team that plays in blue. Also, if you ever get bored, look at the coaching staff of the 2014 Bills, because Jesus, Doug Marrone is your head coach, offensive coordinator Nathaniel Hackett, defensive coordinator Jim Schwartz.
That doesn't. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, what do you think, Ant?
See, the way I look at it is, like, I would hypothetically say, you give the Bills 8-year tenure and you put it on us right now. Would you accept that? And the trouble is, like, the thing with me that switches this, because I know the thing with football is the same, but in soccer over here, there's more than a Super Bowl to win. Like in the NFL, there is a Super Bowl to win, and we talk about whether seasons are successes or failures. Technically, at the most base level, 31 teams fail every year because they don't get it. But am I going to be happy just making a champion? Like I'm great. I'll be grateful to get into the you know the NFC Championship game every year. But if I'm constantly coming up short, like at some point you have to run the risk of going backwards to go forwards because again you're 8 years in there now and you've still not been to a Super Bowl. Like 8 years is a long time. That's another that we're only halfway there under Dan, like, and we've been through this adventure now, but if we'd not got there in 4 years I would probably be getting antsy. But I just think it's a very interesting question because we talk about the Steelers taking mediocrity at just having a winning record, but some teams who are at the top who can't, like the Ravens, can't bust through either. Like they've been to one AFC Championship game, and you think you've got Lamar, you've consistently got one of the best defenses in the NFL, you've got one of the most diverse, dynamic offenses in the NFL every year, and you've been to one championship game. Like that also feels like a failure, and John Harbaugh is another who is living off a Super Bowl victory from over a decade ago, which it's a long time in the game.
It's a long time.
I just think, sticking at really high, sticking at very good and sticking at mediocre in the NFL are the same thing, essentially, if you cannot break that ceiling. I just think, it feels like something has to change because Mahomes ain't getting any. Mahomes is what, 28, 29?
Yeah, he's still young.
He's got another decade in him. His style of play. Yeah. And Reed's not going anywhere at the minute. And they've done it with no receivers. They've done it with seemingly weakened teams. They're becoming the Patriots. They're doing it with a few key players and a load of guys around them, but they're doing it with more innovative coordinators. So they're not going anywhere. So eventually, someone has to beat them. You can't just wait for him to retire or get injured.
Unfortunately, well, according to some of the fans I've seen on Twitter today, the only QB who's capable of stopping Mahomes is Jordan Love. You didn't see that?
No.
I'll share it in Discord.
Only
I just had
Love can save us.
Yeah, I just had the perfect reply. I just took a screenshot of Mahomes versus Goff regular season, just cropped it down off head and just replied.
Yeah, okay, so let's pick the Super Bowl just while we're here. At the moment, the spread is 1.5 points in favour of Kansas City. What do you think?
Meteor, like the rest of the country's hoping.
That's what you're hoping for, but assuming there isn't a natural disaster, who's going to win the game?
The NFL, for the amount of fucking money they're going to get out of this.
And I tell you what, if they say this is the most watched Super Bowl of all time, they're lying through their teeth. They are lying their ass off if they think this is going to be the most watched one of all time. I mean, you've got to go with the Chiefs. They're Teflon. They find ways to win. I know they get favourable calls and that, but every time it seems like you've got them in a hole, especially in the postseason, they find a way. Like they said, if you're a rookie from their 2022 class, you have never known a playoff loss. It's 2025, and they don't know what it's like to lose a playoff game. They're just teams, when they get that good, they find a way. And you look at the Eagles and you're thinking, that's great, but can they bring it? Can they do a Philly? Can they do a Tampa on them? Because that's what you'd have to do. I mean, you look at it and you think, maybe. They've got the running back. They've certainly got the front seven to go to town on them, but will they?
There's one issue with that. Kansas saw what happened against Tampa, and they've not let their offensive line get any worse than that.
No,
there's no way. Like
it feels inevitable.
Which is the sad thing. Like,
and yet I thought that Kansas City's offensive line wasn't fantastic against Buffalo. I don't think it was that great.
Did just enough, though.
They did just enough, and Mahomes did just enough. But you know what? You know whose defensive line is better than the Buffalo Bills? The Philadelphia Eagles, who absolutely decimated Washington in that department. Like, I don't think Kansas City's is that much better than Washington's. If Sam Cosmi was in the lineup, obviously he wasn't. But just like Smith's great.
I do.
But Jawan Taylor is a walking liability. I'm sorry. Like, it's awful.
That's the thing with Kansas City is they know their tackles aren't the best. That's why when it comes to our predictive mock draft for the first round, I'm probably going to give them a tackle. But it's interior pressure. They have got arguably one of the best interior threes in the league up there with us in Philadelphia. And that's the issue. If Mahomes can handle pressure when he's coming from the tackle regions, when he's in his face, and they've never let that slip ever since that Tampa game, because that's what they did. It was Barrett would come on the outside and it would free up their interior rushers like Sue and that. Philly might be able to do that, but it's like you play the game 50 times, they can maybe do it 3 or 4 times.
If you ask me who I would want to win it, the only reason I'm picking them is because I want my boy to get a Super Bowl ring, and that's Philly. So my boy Reed, I want him to get a Super Bowl ring. That is literally it. There is no other vested interest for me in this.
I would like Slay to get one. I'm picking Philly, straight up.
Can you pick the Chiefs? But your picks have been rotten so far at this point. Can you reverse psychology this?
I've only got one right in the entire playoffs, I think.
Who was that?
I don't know. I'll have to have a look.
So please pick the Chiefs. Put your black magic onto them.
Hang on. Straight up picks, but both championship games wrong. I got Buffalo over the Ravens in the divisional round. And then in the wild card, I don't remember what I did in the wild card. And it's not loading for me now.
I'm sure you had Buffalo over Denver.
I got 3 right in the wild card out of 6. So I got 4 right in the whole playoffs. Which is not great. But I am picking Philly. I am. I believe it wholeheartedly. That defensive line is going to have its way with Kansas City. And so Kansas did a great job against Buffalo against Allen. And obviously Allen is a much better quarterback than Hurts. But even though Cook is an incredible running back, he's not Saquon. And it's not that offensive line. I think Philly have an advantage in the trenches on both sides of the ball. Mal Marcus says KC for the 3. Ugh.
It just feels like it won't be special. If they win the 3 and then someone beats them next year, it kind of feels like they're letting you win because they've done what they want to and they're finished with you. They've got to lose now.
Right, we have some questions to get to as well, so I'm going to just quickly get to them. Grandizer had a couple. First one was, who was on your OC and DC list? Obviously, those roles are now both filled after the OC has now been confirmed. But who did you want?
We got the DC I wanted. I wanted it Shep to be promoted. OC, Tanner. I wanted us to make that internal hire as well with that, but it seems we're giving Tanner a bit more time to develop by getting him someone that he knows and trusts. But yeah, it was Tanner and Shep for me.
I've got no more names to add.
Fair. Grandizer also said, which one line's impending free agent to you as a must resign? Which one is he can walk player? We're going to do free agency in a later show, but briefly, is there one player you must bring back?
Levi.
Yeah, I think you bring him back.
Yeah,
You need as much D-line help as you can get.
Yeah, I think Carlton Davis can be that guy, but I think Levi, especially at the price point, is the one you must bring back.
Mm-hmm.
Then we had Kenyatta, Stovall, who's asked, would you take Shedeur Sanders if he just happened to be available at 28? Would you draft him?
No.
I am also a no.
The dude's there at 28. It's no, you'd trade for a haul, but I mean, you'd have to consider it. Like, just for the sheer insane value you're getting, a potential top 5 player at 28, you'd fire the gun on it every time. So he won't, but theoretically, if he did, I probably would. I'm not going to lie.
I mean, for me, I have him pegged as a mid-second round pick, in terms of talent level. So even though it is value because he's going to go top 5, probably, I just can't in good conscience. I think there'd be more impactful players for us. We're on a Super Bowl. We want to win a Super Bowl. Shedeur Sanders isn't helping us get a Super Bowl. And we already are fairly future-proofed, and Goff can be around a long time, and I believe in him, and we've paid him. Like, I don't really care about extracting value in that way. It doesn't help us for the next few years. Unless you can draft Sanders to instantly trade him away for more picks. That's the only way you realise that value. Also, Kenyatta asked, out of the 16 injuries, who is staying and who is going? So, the injuries we have, Antoine Green, Connor Galvin, Muti, who's come back already, Carl Pico, Meki Wingo, who's under contract, Aleem McNeil, obviously under contract. John Kaminsky, I think, is out of contract. Davenport's out of contract. Hutchinson's already here. Nate Lynn is out of contract. Barnes is out of contract. Rodriguez is under contract for 1 more year, I think.
1 more year, yeah.
Carlton Davis is out of contract. Khalil Dorsey, I'm not sure.
Out of contract.
Mosley is out of contract. Rakestraw's under contract. Robertson's got 1 more year. And Badgley will be out of contract. So, out of all of those guys who are going to be out of contract, is there anyone you want to come back? And is there any one of the ones who are slated to stay that you potentially wouldn't keep? I guess is the question. It's a fairly broad question.
Well, it's not a rogue shout because you know what, you knew what I'm like. I'd bring back Dorsey for one role and one role alone.
Gunner.
Yeah. Exactly.
I, as a camp body, as someone who has a shot to make the roster, I would like to bring back Antoine Green.
Then bring back Nate Lynn as well then. He was having a tear before he got injured in camp. He was going to supposedly be our edge 4.
And would you bring back Kaminsky or Barnes or...
Obviously, I'd bring back Barnes. For a lot of the other vets, I'd just tell them to take a hike, though. Davenport can leave. Kamish, I mean, that all depends on the injury. And, you know, we don't know what effect it's had on him yet, because obviously it's kept him out for a full year. So he's not gonna play football in a long time. Is he going to be able to hold up when he comes back? Obviously, if you can guarantee that he's going to come back and be a rotational piece on the edge, you snap him up and say, "Yeah, of course I do." He's the kind of guy you want in your depth room. But obviously, you know, guys like Davenport and Mosley are gone. You're just too injury prone, and you know, sorry, go get it somewhere else. As for the others, you bring a lot of the others back to challenge for positions. Like Pico did some good stuff. Muti potentially, as you say, could be depth on the roster there. You bring them back as camp bodies and let them fight it out if they want to stay. Because again, this is a place that gives these guys opportunities. So, you know, I would think a lot of them would be open to coming back and at least trying out. But as for giving big deals for, very few of them.
All right. I think that's going to do it. No other questions have come in, and we've been going a long time. So I think it's time to wrap this one up. The next show on the main podcast will be this time next week, currently slated, but we're going to move it for whenever we can get as many of the guys on as we can. Although I think it probably will just be same time, same place. It'll be our award show. So, of course, we've gone through all the nominations now. The ones that we're voting on will get submitted and all the guys will make their votes. The fan vote will be tweeted out and pinned, I think, to our channel for you to vote on for the next 6 days or so. And then we'll make some nice looking graphics and announce that all for you on next week's show, 4th annual Roar the Lions award show. Next show on the whole podcast and is the college football podcast. What are you talking about?
We deep dive into the Senior Bowl roster this week. So we've done the Hula Bowl, we've done the Shrine Bowl, and we're doing Senior Bowl next, and we'll give you a Shrine Bowl review as well. Because that game's coming up on Thursday, so let you know the latest of what's gone on there.
Fantastic. All right. Many thanks to our guest tonight, Kurt Steele, the man of steel, and Luke G. Luke G's field review. They're both absolutely fantastic. Looking forward to having them back soon. Otherwise, please follow us on our socials. Roar the Lions UK, YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. And the Facebook group for Worldwide Fans is Detroit Lions Fans UK, One Pride Worldwide. The website, rotluk.com. I'm hoping we can get some draft-related stuff up on there soon, so do keep your eyes peeled for that. Please don't forget to subscribe. I can never say that damn word. Subscribe and rate us 5 stars on your podcast provider. We'd much appreciate that. Just remains for me to thank my co-hosts, to Anthony Fitzpatrick and Ashley Soden. Cheers, boys. It's been a good show, as always. And thank you to everyone in the chat for really engaging with us all the way through that. It was an absolute joy to be on this side of it. So I hope you have a great week. We'll see you later on for College Football Show. But for now, let's go Lions, One Pride.
One Pride.
Recording stopped.